I'd like to call this regular Board of Ed meeting to order at 7 p.m. Invocation or moment of silence. Mr. Ryder.
A person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or notable qualities. This is the definition of hero. Hero is what, among other things, defined Donovan Abbey. I've had the privilege of knowing Donovan since he was 3 years old. He would become my son's best friend and one of the hardest working students I've ever had the opportunity of tutoring. I apologize. I had reached out to Donovan's mom and asked her if she could write something that could do some justice to Donovan's journey. And after thinking about it for a few days, she'd actually reached out to one of her best friends, one of our staff members, Pamela Melee, who wrote this on behalf of his family. When Donovan was first diagnosed in 2017, just after turning 9, he handled the diagnosis better than most adults would have. He fought hard, and he always did it with a smile on his face. His sense of humor and his smirk helped get himself and others through some very long and hard days. In 2019, Donovan went into remission, and boy, did we party. But 2 short years later, Donovan and his family learned the cancer was back. Donovan did not have the opportunity to attend 8th grade with his friends at JFK, but he did intend to go to high school with them this fall. This past summer, I was asked to tutor Donovan. And just in the summer, for lack of a better words, Donovan worked his butt off. He read a novel, completed a project about the novel, and made it through over a school year of math, all in just over 6 weeks. This was all while Donovan, on certain days, was feeling the worst that he had felt. There was one night in particular that I remember Donovan felt that he had a fever. He took his temperature. I asked what it was. He said 104, but I still have 2 or 3 more lessons to get through. Donovan was determined to finish 8th grade on time, and he did. When I think of Donovan, I think of a young man who went through more things in his 14 years than most adults do in their lifetime. I think of him as a fighter, tenacious and true hero, and I was honored to be a part of his life. Thank you, Pamela, for sending me that. And thank you, Melissa, for allowing me to read it. I just wanted to add personally, not on behalf of his family, I don't speak for them, but on behalf of Hazard Memorial School, Eli Whitney, and the JFK PTOs, which I was on with hundreds of families, along with the Enfield Public Schools staff at these schools who all knew Donovan personally. And for those who didn't know Donovan, or he just wasn't in their class, they still supported almost all of the fundraisers and or events that we did as we tried to help. Like that sky photo we took at Whitney, where we all spelled out his name in the parking lot. So to Donovan's family, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for letting us in and for letting us try to do something, anything to be helpful when none of us knew how to do that. Please take a moment of silence, not only for Donovan, but for all the children who have to fight cancer, who shouldn't have to go through those things. And we hope you all make it through to the other side. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me. I apologize. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. Fire evacuation announcement. We have double doors behind you, head out the double doors down to the parking lot. Double doors to my left, your right, down the stairs and out to the parking lot. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Mr. Ryder?
Here.
Mr. Ungary?
Here.
Dr. Kalnin?
Here.
Mrs. Cushman?
Here.
Mr. Hamry?
Here.
Mrs. Acree?
Here.
Mr. LeBlanc? Here. Mrs. Pickett?
Here.
Madam Chair?
Here. Item 6, board guests. Superintendent Drezek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, we're pleased to welcome Enfield's Teacher of the Year, Ms. Amber Venustos. I've been practicing all day.
Thank you for that. If it's okay with all of you, I would really like to stand because while the message is for all of you, it's also for a lot of them that are here tonight. So if that's okay with all of you, I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. I am super excited to be here. I do have to, before I say anything else, give a shout out to my 3 little boys who are watching at home, Nico, Nolan, and Nash, and my husband, Nick, who's holding down the fort. I would not be here if it wasn't for all of them. So thank you guys. I love you. I would like to share a story with all of you from March of 2020. At the time, our school buildings were closed. I was home with my 3 boys, who at the time, Nico was in 1st grade, and Nolan and Nash were both in preschool. And like many of you, I was trying to balance helping my students from afar and also trying to help, especially Nico, with his 1st grade schoolwork. On this particular day, he had a writing assignment sent from his teacher via email. And I was met with a lot of frustration and a lot of tears. I remember trying my best to reassure him and even tried telling him that we'll get through this. I can help you. Don't forget, mommy's a teacher, and I even taught 1st grade for 11 years. I'm a qualified helper. And his response, I will never forget. He looked at me and said, "You're a teacher, Mommy, but you're not my teacher." And of course, he was right. I couldn't compare because there is no replacement for the relationships that our kids build when they come to school. We are just beginning to understand the long-term impact of the pandemic on our kids, and we know already that their academic needs, their behavioral needs, their mental health needs are more diverse than ever. We also know that all of that is compounded by issues of equity and access that have existed long before COVID was ever a thing. We have a long way to go. But to make progress, it's imperative that our students come to school feeling valued for who they are as they are. And thankfully, that is the strength of our Enfield Schools community. Our teachers, our staff do so much more than just teach. For years, I have watched my colleagues do everything they can to connect with our kids, whether that is dressing up as book characters or superheroes, bringing in extra snacks or clothes for kids who need it, learning every kid's name in the building and not just the ones in their own class, giving kids fist bumps in the hallway, celebrating their victories, even the teeniest ones, and being a safe space for kids when they're having big emotions. I've watched my colleagues use their prep time to go and spend time in other classrooms to get to know their kids. I've watched them forgive our kids' mistakes and give second chances. And I've seen all of you work all day with kids who make some really undesirable choices. and then turn around and tell your colleagues all of the reasons why you love them. I've watched my coworkers be present for our kids at their dance recitals, at their soccer games, their art shows, their funerals. I've watched you all focus on our kids' strengths, and I've watched you advocate for what they need. And of course, all of these are just examples from Hazardville Memorial, but there are countless others from every single building in our Enfield Public Schools, because our teachers want our kids to feel valued and supported. And if you ask any of them why, they'll tell you it's just what we do. Building positive relationships with kids seems simple, and it is simple, but it's also extremely powerful. It's how we inspire our kids, it's how we motivate them to take risks, and it's how we reassure them in times of struggle. That connection, it's not the solution to everything that our kids need right now, but it is the foundation for everything else that we are trying to accomplish. My Nico does not remember the specifics of what he learned in first grade, and most of our kids won't either, but he'll never forget that his teacher made him feel confident, capable, and loved. And as a teacher and a parent, that's everything. I wouldn't be here tonight without the support of a lot of the people in this room, and also the support of our board and our leadership. And even though thank you is not even close to enough, it's all I've got. So if you'll bear with me for 1 second. To Chris and Andy, thank you for your unwavering support of our staff and of our kids, always, but especially over the last 2 years. To Lisa, to Andrew, and to all of our HMS family, thank you for your trust and flexibility with me as we tried something new with pause time, and then retried it 4 different times as we tried to navigate the pandemic. You all know how special that project is to me, but it doesn't work without all of you. And I'm just so grateful. To Cindy Maggio at Eli Whitney and to Brianna Beckstrand from Kite, it's one thing to share somebody's vision, but it's very much another to jump in with 2 feet. And I can't thank you both enough for your collaboration and support. To my grade 2 team, who's in the front row, thank you for your endless support, your even more endless laughter, and for lack of better words, you are all a delight. And specifically to Kelly Rossetti, there are no words. Thank you for all the things, and I still don't think you know how good you really are. But the most important thank you tonight is to our kids, the ones who are here, the ones who are watching at home. Thank you for coming to school every day exactly as you are. You are smart, you are funny, you are capable, and you are resilient. You have challenged my emotions. On occasion, you've challenged my patience. But you have always helped me find the joy, even within the chaos. Because of all of you, I'm a better teacher, I'm a better mom, and I'm a better person. And I could not be more grateful to be part of your journey. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
She has to sit, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit though.
Does anyone have anything they would like to say? Ms. Cushman?
I don't remember. I know if I try to say your last name, it feels awkward calling you Amber, but to say Ms., and I know I mispronounced your last name, but how was it?
He's very proud.
Okay. But I just wanted to commend you for how admirable it was that on an evening set aside to honor you as the Teacher of the Year, that you used your time to really honor your colleagues and to encourage them and the students in your school. Thank you. That really shows a lot about who you are and why you are the Teacher of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Acree?
Amber, I love your spirit. Thank you. Congratulations for your dedication to the profession and the use of your abilities and your talents to all of our future generations. Great job. Congratulations.
Ms. Pickett?
All right. So I've known Amber since childhood. And when I saw the Teacher of the Year announcement, I didn't even know that she really taught in town. And I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, I know her. And I trick-or-treated with her husband. And like, this is so exciting. But it doesn't surprise me because this is who you've always been. And from what I remember from our times way back when, what you shared tonight is exactly who you've been forever. So thank you for coming to Enfield. Thank you for teaching our kiddos, and keep up all the great work that you're doing with your colleagues.
Okay. I would love to say thank you. What you did tonight brought tears to some of our eyes because we know that the last 2 years have not been easy. And thank you for recognizing that and know that we recognize that too. And to see your face and the faces of your team and the faces of other teachers and students is amazing. And it reminds me personally of why we do this and why we have such amazing teachers and an amazing public school family that really brings us together as a community. So I can't thank you enough. I can't congratulate you enough. But we have something to present to you.
I just wanted to say thank you. And you know how much I love your building and your staff and your administration. And thank you for everything that you do for our kids, for all our Huskies.
Quick, everybody look. It just proves my point. Sorry, I'm jumping in. One of the cool things that he and I get to do every year is we get to surprise the Teacher of the Year, and we do it in the classroom so we can get the kids' reaction. And then we all line up in the hallway waiting to actually go and congratulate whoever that Teacher of the Year may be. And by the time we kind of barged into Ms. Venusto's room, before I got a chance to congratulate her and give her award, that happened. So everything she said up here today, she actually means it, because before we had a chance to congratulate her, she got tackled by about 20 kids that were more excited than she was. So Amber, thank you for everything. And, well, we'll leave it at that.
Item B, Mr. Dresnick.
Good luck, Melissa and Amy. Have fun following that. But tonight we welcome Melissa Griffith, our PLA coordinator, and Amy Whitborough, the Enfield Public Schools Partnership Coordinator, to talk about our Parent Leadership Academy.
Hello, everyone. We're really happy to be here tonight to talk about Parent Leadership Academy, which we always refer to as PLA. I'm going to just do a brief overview of how Parent Leadership Academy came to Enfield and the impact it has had on our community. And then I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, who's the coordinator of PLA, and she's going to tell you more about what goes on in the 10-week classes. In 2002, it's hard to believe it's been 20 years, it's crazy, Mass Mutual, who was then headquartered in Enfield, came to the Enfield Public Schools and wanted to know what kind of partnerships they could form with us. Being the partnership coordinator, I met with their community liaison to discuss this. I mentioned that I had been looking at different parent leadership models to try to bring something to Enfield, but they were costly and very extensive in time. They really liked the idea of funding something like that, and they wanted to not only fund it, but they wanted to support the efforts. So we spent the next couple of months researching different programs. The main one that we were looking at is called PLTI, Parent Leadership Training Institute. It's used widely throughout our state. It's a 20-week program. And I just knew, knowing how busy families are in Enfield and how many working families we have, that nobody was going to be able to commit 20 weeks. And when I told them that, they offered to have Leadership Greater Hartford design a program for Enfield. So we spent the next half a year designing a program with Leadership Greater Hartford, which was phenomenal to work with. So we came up with the 10-week training that ends with a completion of a class project. The goal of the course was and still is to help parents tap into their leadership potential. It is geared at giving those that attend the tools and confidence they need to make positive change in both their personal lives and the Enfield committee. Well, that was 20 years ago that all that happened. And in June, we just graduated our 15th PLA class. It's pretty impressive. And it's 15 because of COVID. It would be higher.
17.
That's
It
right.
should be 17.
Many changes have occurred over the years. To ensure sustainability, after 4 years of working with Leadership Greater Hartford and having them run the classes, we took on the responsibility to run the program in-house. At that time, we started training coordinators and assistant coordinators from past PLA graduates, and to this day, that's the model that we still use. Last year, we also decided for sustainability that the Parent Leadership Academy, Kite and Enfield Public Schools joined as a partnership to work on manage the Parent Leadership Academy. So that's another way that we've decided that we can make it more sustainable. Last year, because we had no class, Melissa, Brianna, myself, and some other people formed a committee, and we looked at our curriculum and we revised all of the curriculum. We added a class on advocacy because we felt that that was a very important class to add. We revisited every class that was taught with a lens on equity, and we added more data about Enfield to help them inform and choose their project. So this year's was a new and improved model that we were really proud of. Through the years, PLA graduates have gone on to serve our community in many ways. They have started an education foundation, they've a community garden, Enfield Rocks. Enfield Rocks was started by a graduate. Our classes have gone on to be PTO presidents, serve on numerous commissions and boards, and take on elected positions both on the town council and the Board of Education. They truly are advocates for families in our community and always there to help. The townwide tag sale that you see the signs up every year in the map, that was started by our class, and that's an annual tradition now that raises money for our Enfield food shelf. So that's just one example of how they give back to the community. And we do know that we have a few graduates sitting on the board. And also, if everybody who's a graduate out here could raise their hand. We have several graduates in the audience. Because We find that PLA graduates are everywhere, and we love it when they speak publicly and they announce themselves as a PLA graduate. So now Melissa's going to tell you more about the class.
Hi, everyone. For those that don't know, I'm just going to give a little rundown of how the actual structure of the program works. So we offer the PLA program each year, one time, starting with a February retreat, which is an all-day Saturday retreat for all those participants to get to know each other and do some team building with the hopes that they come into the very first class ready to know, go with everything that's going on and know each other. Consecutively following that Saturday retreat, we offer Thursday night classes, 5:30 to 8:30. Dinner and childcare is included each week. So they get to eat with their children, and then we have early childhood educators that come, scoop the kids up, and they go down and do their thing while the parents get to do what they need to do. Each class focuses on specific topics such as conflict transformation, how to run productive, effective meetings, learning about your learning style, about the Enneagram, building community connections, and then fast forward, those are only a few, toward the end where the class uses those skills and tools that they've worked toward each class to actually come up with their own group project that is all about giving back to the Enfield community and our families and our children. So they create that themselves. They do the project, it is completed, and then we have a formal graduation in June. So like Amy mentioned, we did add a couple different classes because we thought that was a good addition to what our families and our community need and continue to need, such as advocacy. So we've added a couple classes. It's a 12-week program now with the final project culminating before graduation, before the final graduation, for the final ceremony. Yeah, that's it. That's in a nutshell. How to think
Thank you.
about that. It's just so quick. In a nutshell. So, like Amy said, we're supposed to be at 17. We're at 15. Over 15 years, we have 160 graduates throughout the community. And my passion for PLA, I cannot shout it enough from the rooftops on how it transforms, and I am lucky enough each year to be part of it, and I don't take it for granted that I get to make connections with these people that decide to take time to gain new tools, to do what they need to do. The topics that are taught every year, every class, each one, are all the same. But what I say is when people walk into that classroom, you're coming in there and you're on your own journey, and you're going to walk away with what tools you need to do whatever you need to do on the next steps in your life. So I am so privileged and honored to be part of PLA and be able to see graduates everywhere that show up everywhere in the community and give back to our community and find their voice and learn to advocate or become CEOs of companies or start nonprofits or do Enfield Rocks or change their whole life journey because they found PLA gave them a voice and they wanted something different in life. So, yeah, I can go on and on about PLA, so I'll just stop there with questions or anything else.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Hamry, then Mr. Ryder.
Yeah, I first off, thank you very much for coming here tonight. I appreciate this. And as you mentioned, PLA Class 10 graduate. I want to encourage the families out there to find a way to get involved with the program because it gives you a significant base of knowledge and connections to build on that will carry you through to achieve whatever you want to get done. So I would also toss out that there's an imbalance of fathers versus mothers, at least historically in my experience. So the challenge I'd put out to the fathers out there, and bonus points if you can go as a couple because that doesn't happen often. And yes, I want to acknowledge that the offering of childcare and dinner makes it very, very possible for the family to attend and participate and learn and benefit from it. So I appreciate that and thank you for it.
Mr. Ryder?
PLA Class 9, 2014. I also wanted to thank Lisa Rogers for teaching the class for as long as she did, and I wanted to thank you, Melissa, for taking over and running the program as well as you have. When I took the class, Lisa was teaching it, and you were her coordinator. And you mentioned the townwide tag sale. That's something that I still run with Leslie Lawler, who now works at Eli Whitney. And we've raised almost $18,000 on that annual project. It still goes on to this day. We do it every year. We obviously took 2 years off as well, but we were back again this year and had another 100 tag sales on the map and raised another $2,500, give or take, for the food shelf. And our 10-year, we've done it for 10 years out of the 12 possible years since the inception of that project, and we've raised just under like $18,000. So, like, to your point, even though somebody that took this class isn't, on the school board or on the town council, or you have Enfield Rocks, you have all these projects that are out there making people smile and just making Enfield better. So thank you, Amy, for all that you do through the schools. And thank you, Melissa, for taking over the torch and keeping this going.
Can I add one more thing? I need to just add one more thing. So see how people just introduce themselves? It's like magnificent. Like, seriously, like, we're so proud. Parent Leadership Academy is like no other community has. I had Hartford reach out to me to see, like, what is it that we do? Our program is so unique. It is not PLTI, and it's a smaller, shorter version that is more accessible for families, working families, parents, grandparents. We had a grandparent in the class, male grandparent this year. And then we just introduced ourselves like that. We're so proud, and you're right, Scott. It's not about always the big impact. It's always the small impact. And never mind that we create leaders in our community, but I find sometimes the most memorable are the friendships and the empathetic, lifelong love for each other that comes along. And if you look at most classes and you ask anyone in those classes, most of them are still in contact or really good friends or have become best friends with others that are in their class. So you form friendships that may lead into a nonprofit or just lifelong friendships for a shoulder to lean on. But never mind that we create leaders, we create that personal connection. So I should add that we don't take like more than 15 because it needs to stay small and intimate. So just add that.
Mr. LeBlanc?
I thought it was awesome how you started your presentation with, not having the 2 years of the course itself, but using that time to build that committee and see where you can make adjustments or make the program better. So I thought that was, really tremendous and thinking outside the box to use that COVID time, the pandemic, to your advantage. I know personally a couple people that have graduated from this program, and one in particular that comes to mind is a full-time mom with a full-time job, and she has nothing but great things to say. She's always advocating for the program. So just a fantastic job to you guys on a truly amazing program.
Mr. Ungary?
Yes, thank you, Melissa. Just a couple of questions. And I think I just got it from Jonathan. Is it a 2-year program? It's a 2-year program?
No, it's a 12-week program.
It's a 12-week program.
Yeah. I think they're talking about the 2 years. We were on hiatus, so we took time to reimagine and rejuvenate the program
Okay.
to better assess the needs that we need within our community and what our families need.
Okay, so it's a 12-week program. And when does it start?
February 3rd, 2023, Saturday morning at 9 till 3:30, if anyone would like to join.
February 3rd. And where are the classes held?
That depends on location because, Enfield is really loved and needs a lot of space and does a lot of things. But recently we're at the Enfield Town Annex.
Okay, all right, okay. And I guess those are the questions I had. When, where, how?
And then we follow on Thursday evening. So consecutive, it will start Saturday, February 3rd, 2023. And then it starts that following Thursday on Thursday evenings with dinner and childcare.
All right, is there a cost associated?
It is free because
Okay.
of all of these amazing people.
Free's always good.
And we like to tell people that if they had to pay for this themselves, it would be over $1,000 a person.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
We bring in speakers,
Highly educated,
very
qualified
qualified
presenters in the
speakers for
topics that we present.
So do you have different instructors for each topic?
Absolutely. Yep, because
Okay.
everyone's an expert in their own field. So we have a different topic each of the 12 weeks. So we bring in those experts, someone that's in conflict transformation, someone that knows how to run effective meetings the best, someone knows how to present the Enneagram and the 5 leadership skills, so those kind of things.
Okay, so last question, okay? Is each topic 12 weeks, or do you cover multiple topics within the 12 weeks?
Multiple topics within the 12 weeks.
Okay.
You have the one topic is covered one class with the exception of public speaking.
Okay.
It scares people, so without public speaking. Otherwise, that's a couple. See, it scares people, so I'm whispering, but yes, it's
Okay.
one.
And it's designed to, it builds on the skills. It's arranged so that it starts with the skills you first need, and each class builds.
So that you have all your
By
tools
the
necessary.
time you have to public
Right.
speak, you're ready.
Right. And then when you're at the end, when you're deciding your community project as a group, you have all the tools you need to handle what you need to make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No, you have to deal with me. You stuck with me? No, I'm not done. Thank you for having me as a speaker this past term, and then being there on graduation night. Could you just take a brief moment to talk about what the community project was this year? Because I thought it was especially, yeah.
Yes, I would love to. So the class this year decided on, they wanted to bridge the gap with COVID and worrying about the elderly at home, and then the children, as we've heard, doing what they need to do and the lack thereof because of COVID. They wanted to bridge the gap, so they worked with the senior center, and they worked with children within our community to make special placemats that they can create and laminate and put a special, like a whole special story on the back about PLA and why they're doing what they're doing. So they went to the Enfield Kindness Carnival, they went to childcare facilities, they used ECDC, they used their own children, they went and did the dance recital in town, wherever there were children that could color and make happiness and joy spread everywhere is what they did. And they brought those back, they laminated, they put those together, and then they presented them to Meals on Wheels and the Enfield Senior Center. So those people, those that are homebound, can get some joy spread to them. They also branched out. They had enough to go and share with the Enfield Soup Kitchen and Loaves and Fishes for those that might want some spread of love and joy as well.
I think that idea was awesome. And I love how you bridged the community and brought the community together. Yes. Just a couple of observations I made when I was there is, did you have two grandparents this last time?
Yes, I did.
Yes. And so it might say Parent Leadership Academy, but it really doesn't mean just parents. And the support that I noticed the students had for each other was amazing. And I noticed it when I first went in and spoke, but then seeing them graduate, it was just a lovely little community amongst themselves with a lot of support. And so it was really nice to see that, and to see, people step out of their comfort zone and try to get out in the community and have some personal growth for themselves and their families and the community. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here. So I can't wait to hear what the next community project will be, but I'm sure it'll be another great one. So thank
Another
you.
amazing year.
Yes.
They always are.
Yes. Thank you. Item C.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And our last guest for this evening, all of you should know, our Enfield Public Schools business manager, Lorena Cisneros, but she's actually here representing one of the many hats that she also wears, in addition to making sure we have money, as here as part of the Yukon People Empowering People program. So, Lorena, welcome.
Okay, so bear with me because I'm not good in the. Oh my God. So first, I just want to say, when I started in the Enfield Public Schools, I have the opportunity to be a paraprofessional, and I'm happy to be here this night because I work with Amber, and that year was really amazing because the impact that she put not just through the kids but also to the people is big. So because of you, I'm here too. So, I just want to talk about the PEP program and what is PEP. In 2019, one of the members of the CHI reached to me and they said that they just need to be involved not just in part of the community, but all the community. And because they know I speak Spanish, they want to involve the Latinos into the community. So I was part of the community in 2014, and they sent me to get the certificate as a facilitator for the Yukon PEP program, which is People Empowering People. And these programs we have in Enfield since 2014. And what is PEP? PEP is a program that is in a personal and family development program with a strong community focus. So what we did through the years, I don't know how to pass this. Okay, so people work together to make their community a better place for themselves and their children. So all these programs each year was in Spanish, and same like PLA, we have 10 weeks program. It's just 10 weeks. With 2 hours each day, we have different topics, which are values, communication, active listening, problem solving, and also at the end of the programs, I try to bring people from the community, like authorities, that they have to know, because I noticed that because we as a community, Latino, sometimes because of the barrier of the language, we don't involve in things. So it's good to know people in groups like that, to be involved, to be part of the community. So that's what we focus at the end. And at the end of the program, we have to create a project. So through the years, this is the class 2014, class of 2015, the 2016 class, and 2017 class, which this one was a little different because it was not just the Latino community, but also we have the Somalian and Indian and Latino community that graduate that year. And the 18 was kind of the last year, because then 19, 20, and 21, we have the COVID. But thanks to all the group that we have through those years, we create a WhatsApp group for the Latinos, and also the Facebook, the Latin Community of Enfield, which we send all the information through the pandemic through those ways. And then this year we have, so if you want to see more about the Latin community and the projects, we have in Facebook Comunidad Latina de Enfield. And then this year, which Rich is going to talk about that.
Good evening. My name is Rich Galvez. I was part of actually the first Yukon group that started, and I guess I liked it so much I came back. But this year we actually wanted to give back to the community, because Enfield's been really good to us and stuff like that. Board of Ed, everybody in general has been good to us. So we wanted to give back to the community. So for this year's project, we actually went on and we planted trees right out here in the playscape. It was we had 15 trees that was donated by a great anonymous donator who doesn't want to be known, but he generously gave trees to us to plant. And also this year, the great thing that we actually incorporated too is we had our kids come and help us out. Be part of the meeting, some of the meetings and stuff like that. Help with the child care for the older kids. Help with the child care for the younger kids, and help dig, because those holes were not easy. Those trees are not light.
So these are some of the pictures.
Yeah, so these are some of the pictures of us working out there.
Even the kids were participating.
This was all done on June 8th, which was very hot. But we all got our farmer's tan on. This is everybody that was involved in the digging process with the kids and and everybody.
And the graduation.
This is on July 11th. We actually, once we had everything planned and everything all set, June 11th, we had actually a graduation, and we had a presentation where various people came over and
This is the same.
like.
So those are
Yeah, those are all trees were dogwood trees. I'm not a big tree person, so they were really good.
Yeah. So there is a website also for the Yukon PEP,
Yeah.
and you could see more information.
Yeah, if anybody's interested, there's a website there, like, to see the website for the UConn PEP program. Also, there's for special guests, we had, during the classes that we've had, was Cox Blackwell, for the new equity. We were talked about that. We also had the mayor, Bob Crisoti. I hope I'm saying it right. But yeah, all in all, it was a great group, kind of like almost like PLA was, as I will tell you honestly, I was not very interested in going on the first meeting. I didn't want to go, but once I went, I enjoyed it, and actually a lot of good friends came out of that group. So a lot of us still get together, and we try to see what we can do to try to help the town of Enfield. Because we're small now, the Spanish community is small now, but it's growing. So if we can do anything to help Enfield, you guys feel free to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pickett?
I'm really excited about this. So I did PEP facilitator training a really long time ago. And actually, they had a youth PEP that they had done for a while too. I don't know if they still offer that curriculum, but I know exactly where my curriculum binders are. So I'm going to be in touch with you because I would love to be involved, all of you, and see, since you give back to us, how I might be able to give a little of me to you. But thank you so much. I'm interested to know if there's ways that our PLA and our PEP folks could come together. I think that could be really powerful. So I'm looking at Amy and she's shaking her head and I'm looking at you.
Well, sometimes when they finish my classes, so I kind of send it to the PLA.
Oh, perfect.
That graduate from PLA.
Yeah.
Oh,
also- I
awesome.
was
So it's
also
like a
a graduate.
pipeline. Oh, I
Also
love.
Graduate of the PLA also.
Awesome.
Kind of veer off in our own different ways.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to thank you, A, for seeing this opportunity and branching out and getting various populations in our community involved. We're better together. So I thank you for doing that. And again, I'm going to be in touch and excited to hear more.
Thank you.
Mr. Hamry?
Yeah, thank you, Rich. It is good to see you still. You haven't aged a bit. Just want to point that out. But it is nice to see some other familiar faces in the group that you brought with you. So nice to see the community coming together and doing everything that you've been doing. I didn't realize the extent to which it's out there that you're doing the thing. So I hope to stay in touch and stay on top of what the group's doing. Thank you very much.
Mr. LeBlanc?
I think at the end, you kind of hit something on the head where the Latino population is growing in town, so I can only see how this program is going to grow in of itself. So love what you guys are doing, and I think it's great for that community.
Thank you.
Mr. Ungeyer?
So I see UConn. What's the association with UConn?
They create the program, the People Empowering People. They are the founder of the PEP program.
Okay, so you're directly associated then with UConn.
I have the certification from them, so that's what I could facilitate the program. And
Okay, and again, like when does the program start?
it started in March 2023 and ends like in 10 weeks.
Okay.
Around June, July.
So I have a family member who lives in town who's Hispanic, and would like to learn more about that. So thank you.
Have my people contact your people.
And say what?
Have my people contact your people.
That would be great.
Anyone else? So I just want to ask you a few questions. So how many people do you have in the class per se, and how do you reach out to the community to let them know?
It's no more than 10 people, and we graduate 15 people through all the programs, but we just kind of put it through Facebook, the WhatsApp. We use Facebook, WhatsApp, the Enfield Public Schools. What else?
Yeah, usually it's like either word of mouth or we go through the app,
Yes.
through WhatsApp, and then usually somebody knows somebody that, like that may know someone that would be interested, and they either contact her or just contact somebody that was in the group, and then we just get the people together that way.
So all the people in the audience wearing the shirts are all
Yes.
past graduates. Can you raise your hands?
the next year, if you know any family that wants to do the program, it's in Spanish, and welcome.
Yes. I would like to tell you, too, if you ever, the PLA or PEP has anything you'd ever like a board member to report back on, or if you have a community event you want us to talk about, you can feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we'd be happy to talk about that in our board member comments, or if you're looking for people to sign up, we'd be more than happy to do that. I think it's amazing. Again, like PLA, you're doing something to better yourself, but at the same time, you're wanting to give back to your community. And I think the quote, I love quotes, right? So I love the quote that you have there. As you grow older, you will discover that you have two hands, one for helping yourself and the other for helping others. So I think that really encompasses, from what you say, the work that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, item 7, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to go a little bit out of order than what's in your packet. The open house events are listed all in your packet. I won't take all the time to read each individual school and date, but the information is available in your packets, in each individual website, and I'm sure Mr. Ryder will be more than happy, or if he hasn't already, posted them in Enfield PTO, so there's no sense in me reading them all. I'm going to probably steal someone's thunder for wanting to talk up there. I don't believe I see her in the audience, so I'm surprised that I don't want to steal her thunder either. But every year, Ms. Lori Gates approaches the district and coordinates all of our students sending thank you cards and messages for all of the first responders on the anniversary of 9/11. And it happened to fall on a Sunday this year. And over the weekend, Ms. Gates had reached out to me, overwhelmed with the response that she had received from the Enfield Public Schools. That's not why I'm mentioning it. She's going to come up here and thank you and talk about how, at some point, what a wonderful opportunity, what a wonderful response she had received from the schools. But I want to take the opportunity to thank her because she coordinates it all. She drives to every one of our schools more than once because we don't always remember to get all of them at one time. And then personally delivers all of those to all the first responders in Enfield. So, Mrs. Gates, if you're watching, thank you. You don't need to come back and thank us for what we did. All we did was make cards for people. You were the one who coordinated everything to thank those who sacrificed for us, so thank you. I do want to take the opportunity to address something that some of you may be aware of. I know the board is, some members of the public may be aware. Last Friday evening at our first Enfield High School football game, there was quite frankly, a terrifying medical emergency that one of the students from Woodstock Academy experienced. I'm happy to say, I know that I spent the weekend speaking with the head of school from Woodstock Academy, who was a wonderful man, just in essence to keep an eye and make sure see how the student was doing. And I can't tell you how many times that the principal of the school expressed his gratefulness on behalf of the family and Woodstock Academy and their whole community for the response and the outpouring of support that they've received from the Enfield community. But I can announce that the student is recovering, and I think that's the best news I can give on anything like this. It's obviously scary and terrifying for everybody who was there, everybody who witnessed it. I understand there was a lot of our students that were just in the audience at the game that happened to witness what happened. The game was cut short. But I want to take the opportunity to thank all of our Enfield High School and Enfield Public Schools athletic staffs, starting with Mr. O'Connell, our athletic training and medical staff, and our entire football program. And I'll get to the kids in a second. Our coaches didn't flinch. And any of you who were there realize you saw a bunch of guys in green shirts running across the field when none of us really knew what was happening. I was in the other end zone. I thought it was a play. I had no idea. But they didn't. They didn't flinch, and I don't want to call anybody out and embarrass them because I know they don't like attention. But you know who you are, and you know what you did, and I can't thank you enough for that. I also want to thank a member of our B&G staff who took it upon himself at the time when paramedics were treating the student on the field, got in the ambulance and drove it across the field to make sure they had the ambulance there. Not trying to do that, but he did. His instinct kicked in, and I can't thank him enough. And he's a town employee, so I won't embarrass him either, but at some point that this individual needs to be recognized. But most importantly, I want to thank our kids. Those kids have been through a lot in a month, the Enfield High football team. I was on the field with them. They were as shaken as we all were. But when the game was ultimately decided for good reason not to continue, our kids didn't look at the Woodstock Academy kids as opponents. They looked at them as teammates, friends, brothers. And the best thing that I saw that night was how these kids embraced each other when they were walking off that field. So, and that's a testament to Coach Liver and his staff and everybody at the Enfield High Athletic Department, in particular our football team. So those kids get it, and we should all be very proud of those kids. So thank you guys again. You know, they just want to get back to playing football, and let's hope we can get back to that soon. On a more positive note, this is our first meeting since we opened school. I'm a bit biased. I can't say it's the best opening ever because I wasn't here for all of them. But in my tenure, I'm going to say this is the best one I've ever had. And I say that because this is the first time in quite some time that it actually seemed like it was right again, like things are normal again. I know things aren't completely normal, but walking around the buildings, getting an opportunity to just, I apologize in advance to some of you, I haven't hit grade 2 yet, but you can ask your kindergarten teachers, I'm going to crash your class. But getting the opportunity to walk around and see our kids and see our staff members again and what looks like it's supposed to be school again. So the first time in a very long time, it actually seemed right and it seemed like a little bit of sense of normalcy. A lot of that, most of that is because of these folks that are here. Our teachers, our staff members, everybody, from not just teachers and administrators, paraprofessionals, cafeteria staff workers, who, by the way, we need to give more credit because it was hot the first week of school, and they didn't flinch either. They were still in there serving our kids. I'm happy to report that some of your kids in second grade, it's the first time they ever ate in a cafeteria. And I actually went and sat with them. And I'm selfishly at the time of my life sitting in there for an hour when I probably shouldn't have been there. But that said, all of our staff members were not just so enthusiastic about being back and making sure our kids had the actual best experience, but the best thing I can ever report from this microphone is our kids are happy. Not to say they weren't happy before, but the fact that they were able to come back and be part of their school community again, be with their teachers, be with their friends, start back, and I certainly recognize that as Amber said it best, we have a lot of work to do. But we can't do any of it if our kids aren't happy. So this was the most joyful first 3 weeks of school I've had. I haven't stopped going back. I'm going to go back all year. I don't really care. But I just think it's important for everyone at home to know that for the first time in quite some time, our kids are doing well. And I can't be more thrilled to report that back to not just the board, but the entire public, the entire public that may be watching this. Last thing before I go, about 5 years ago, when Andy and I took these jobs, we spent that first summer kind of mapping out what we needed to do, or what we thought we needed to do. And as we were kind of going through the list that summer of what we needed to do, we kept kind of having these philosophical discussions about, well, why are we doing this? And a lot of it was, well, it's mandated. You guys wrote a policy, we have to do it, and things like that. But the conversation sort of shifted more to, no, why are we doing this? Not just this task, but why do we do this? Like, we could do anything in the world we want to do. And Amber, you stole my thunder a little bit. But why are we doing this? Who are we? Why do we choose this? And that conversation sort of blossomed into a conversation with our administrative team that we thought was important, that as we get off this new start, that everybody knew why we did this and who we were, and more importantly, what we believed in. So we set out a task starting over the summer with our administrators to ask them that simple question. Can you give me in a few short words why you're here? And if you know anything about educators, it's never that easy. Case in point, what I'm doing now, we have a lot to say and we try to get everything in, but in this case, the shorter was usually the better. But that process was important because it wasn't something that I could write or that he could write or I could give it to you and you guys write for me, or the board that was here at the time. It had to be something that we collectively all agreed on. And the culmination of that was a saying that ultimately I could not roll out until everybody came back to school. So when all our staff members returned, I simply sent it out. And I sent it to everybody and I asked them one simple question. If this statement, A, do you agree with it? But more importantly, if this statement was on your letterhead, was on your email signature, was on a business card, would you put your name on it? And I sent it out to all of our staff, and at the time I think I got well over 300 responses, all unanimously saying yes. And that statement is actually behind you right now as we speak. And that became the motto for this district that says, we make a difference in Enfield, every child, every day. Ironically, I spent about 2 years sitting in this chamber, or any chance I got, particularly on television, repeating that. Because I thought it was important for not just you and members who happen to show up here to public meetings, but people who watch it at home, so they knew who we are. And I explained this to our staff members, this is our North Star. Things are going to go bad at times, things are going to go great at times. But at the end of the day, we can keep pointing back to the North Star. Why are we here? What do we do? Don't lose focus on what we're doing. And for about 2 years, I repeated it at every chance I got. I haven't had to say it in a while. It doesn't mean it's not said. It's been said more times than you guys know in this very chamber, but it wasn't said by me or by him. Sometimes it was by you, and a lot of times it was by you guys. But it worked. And it worked because there isn't a question, or there shouldn't be, as to why we're here and what we're doing. No better example is what our teacher here just stood up here and schooled us all on, why we're here. But we need to do it again. Over the last couple of years, there's been an increased effort on the amount of work that we need to do as a district surrounding equity. I introduced publicly last year at the end of the year, we introduced the district and the town to Ms. Cox Blackwell, our new Director of Educational Equity. This has been an ongoing initiative from the district, from our perspective, of important work that we have to do. I want to be very clear, this isn't just in response to the things that happened in the last couple of weeks. This has been going on for quite some time from the district level, but the timing, I think, is imperative right now. One of the initiatives that we started was, before we can advance the work of the district and the work on behalf of our kids, we have to have a common starting place. People, you at home, you need to know what equity means to us. I understand everyone has their own definition of what equity is. That's okay. I'm not debating that. But I think it's important for everybody who's paying attention to us understand what our definition is and what our North Star is when it comes to equity for our kids and me. So we started to repeat that process. Truth be told, we were hoping to have it done by the end of last year, but we met with our administrative staff early in the spring. But as some of you will remember, and you'll start twitching, by the time we got to May, we went into crisis mode, just trying to stay open, let alone trying to advance some additional work. And also, Ms. Cox Blackwell didn't start with us as initially planned early in the year. She didn't come on board down at central office until January. So when we met with our administrators, I posed the challenge like I did 5 years ago to them, and I said, we're going to start this process here. And we're going to kind of flesh out what we believe that we would want the public and the entire district, and most importantly, our kids, to know about what we believe in. And as we started that process, I wasn't able to finish it because a lot of these folks weren't back yet. By the time we spent the summer, hammering through some of the ideas that came in, and there were a lot of great ideas. And one of the challenges doing it this time was there's so much we want to say, but we don't want it to be 12 pages long. And we have a tendency of doing that. So we finally settled on something that ultimately we all believed encapsulated everything that we wanted to say. And last week, when it was finally done, I had an opportunity to send it out to all of our staff members. And I asked the same question again. And I prefaced it with, I'm not saying you have to agree wholeheartedly on what I'm saying. I'm not saying you don't have your own definition. But as a district, if this was on your letterhead or on your email signature, would you put your name on it? And overwhelmingly, I'm in the hundreds now of responses back, and I did not get one person that said no. Now, a bit of a disclaimer. I did get some suggestions on some grammatical things, primarily from English teachers. However, I will explain why I went with the original version when I get to it. But as far as the content is concerned, not one person sent me back a response. And it wasn't just teachers, it wasn't just administrators. I got an overwhelming response from paraprofessionals, clerical staff members. Again, this can't be me or me and him. This has to be all of us. And the response was so overwhelming that I said, if I get the response I expect, I'm going to roll it out on Tuesday night on television for the Board of Education like I did last time. And from this day forward, the public will be very clear about what we believe in. So Alex, there you go. We believe every child is unique, and the diversity of our students is what makes Enfield Public Schools exceptional. To thrive and excel, all are welcomed, accepted, respected, and supported. Period. Now, for my English friends, they wanted to rework the second word. I couldn't say period if I took your suggestions, so that's why I didn't take your original suggestion. But I'm going to read it again. That we believe every child is unique, and the diversity of our students is what makes Enfield Public Schools exceptional. To thrive and excel, all are welcome, accepted, respected, and supported. Period. That's who we are. That's what we believe. Alex, you can hit the next one. You can't really read it, but we're working on it. I'm not ditching the every child, every day thing. We're trying to incorporate it, but I wanted something behind you for the rest of tonight's meeting so that you can clearly understand this is where we're going. That said, we're not done. We don't have a director of educational equity and a cool slogan and say, all right, our work here is over. This is where we start. We couldn't go much further until people had a clear understanding what it means to us. I understand not everyone's going to agree with what this is. That's fine. But as a district, this is what we believe in for our kids. I also recognize that some of the work has already begun with what we need to institute to really do what's best to meet the needs of our kids today. One of them is how we're organized and how we're structured. And this is not a knock because I worked here, but our current organization structure was designed almost 12 years ago. Really 10 years ago was implemented. I was part of it. And it met the needs of our kids at the time. But I'm going to ask all of you a question that I asked our administrators over the summer. Have the needs of our kids changed in the last 10 years? Have the needs of our kids changed in the last 3 years? Then we need to change. And this is not a knock on how things were done in the past, but this is how if we don't keep up, they will be left behind. And it's our responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. So we've made some pretty big organizational changes already. You and I know about it. I told you last winter. A lot of them just found out right before they came back to school in a very long email. Mr. Kuchar, I apologize. I know you don't like the long ones. It's an inside joke. I'm kidding. But that's what happens when you don't get convocation. Obviously, there's changes organizationally that are already underway that I won't spend this. It's going to take more than the 15 minutes I tried to allocate for this tonight to start explaining those to the public, but they're coming. There's also additional things that are already in the works that I know people sometimes get concerned about, but it's something that I need to at least express to folks that I hear you and they're coming. The board knows I have, advisory groups all, at the high school where I get an opportunity, and I see a former graduate, not a PLA graduate, but I got a former graduate in the audience here that was in one of my superintendent advisory groups. And that's great, and I do it at the high school. I'm trying to expand that into different grade levels. I know what my staff members think, because fortunately for all of us, they're not shy. They're not afraid to reach out to me and tell me what they think about something. But there's a demographic in there that sometimes I hear from when something's not going well. Not often we hear when things are going well, but I need to do more of hearing the voice of our actual parents, the people who have kids in our schools. That's coming. Again, it's going to be coming in the coming days and weeks, and more information on that and more information on how we restructure. That's all coming down the line. Change sometimes takes time. It never works at the speed we all want it to. And I know that sometimes people get frustrated with the pace of change, but it's coming. And I think the important thing for me tonight is to share that we recognize that we need to do things differently, because at the end of the day, it's not differently because it sounds good. It's not differently because we can check a box. It's differently, we have to do it differently because our kids need things that are different from us right now. And we have an obligation to them. And going back to our original North Star, that's what's important to us. So before I conclude, I have to inform the 9 of you, this isn't yours. I can't speak for you. I don't have the ability to do that. I could speak for the district, and actually the district spoke for us. I've got a stamp of approval from almost several hundred people, and I told them their silence is acceptance, so I'm going to go with 1,000. That this is where we're we're going to still go ahead and move forward with what we believe in when it comes to equity. The board has every right to adopt whatever you want. You don't have to do anything. You can certainly adopt something. You can actually adopt this if you choose. I can't tell you to do that. But there is a mechanism. The mechanism is simple. 2/3 of you vote to add an item to the agenda, get a motion in a second, you can discuss it, and you can create whatever you want. I just want to be very clear that I'm not speaking on behalf of the board. You have the ability to do what you wish, but it's out there. I won't call you plagiarism. I won't call plagiarism if you use it because I didn't write it. It was done collectively by 1,000 people. So that said, that will conclude the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Drezek. Item 8, audiences.
Thank you, Alex.
I'm just trying to determine a time on the amount of people that have signed up. Before we begin, just a few things to note regarding audiences for this upcoming Board of Ed. You must be an Enfield resident to participate in the audience portion of the meeting. We ask that you state your name and address. Board members cannot respond back to you during this portion of the meeting. They can do so during their board member comments if they choose. We cannot respond to student or personnel matters, and we strongly ask that you refrain from personalities. We also ask that you refrain from yelling out during audience or board members during their comments. Tonight, we will allow 3 minutes. Barbara Gilly.
My name is Barbara Gilly, and I live at 17 Buchanan Road in Enfield. And I have 2 things to bring up tonight. One is I'm talking to the parents, and I just want to let them know about PPRA. It's a federal law, and it talks about the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment. It concerns the pupils and their parents. The parents have the right until the child is 18 or they're emancipated. What I think is important about this is that it discusses parental access to information so that parents do have a right under federal law to access information from schools. The second thing I want to mention is I've been keeping an eye on the new sex education law in New Jersey because of the proximity of Connecticut to New Jersey, in which sex education starts at the 2nd grade level. Parents, the way it works is parents look at the curriculum first, and then they have a right to opt out if they don't want their children to get this information. They teach the proper names of the entire body, and they teach it and spell it out in minute detail. They also discuss gender and gender feelings. My question to the board would be, is there any chance of something similar or comparable coming to Enfield, Connecticut in the near future, whereby, and again, hopefully it would be where the parents could get the information and opt out, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilly. I just want to remind the audience to keep the conversations to not converse while other people are up here talking. Chrissy Aslin?
Chrissy Aslin, 261 Pearl Street. As a parent of teenagers, we are always changing to adapt to them growing. I don't think people change as much as times change. When I was a teen, we did the same things teenagers do now. We just didn't talk about it. We couldn't approach our parents or our favorite teacher with questions or concern because we were taught personal things stay to yourself. Parents no longer feel the need to shame their kids about who they are or the experiences they have. As a parent, I want my kids to always come to me and know that I will keep an open mind. I hope that if someone does not have a parent they can speak to, then they have a teacher or counselor they can trust. I can't believe we are still delusional enough to think that junior high kids aren't having some kind of sexual experiences, either in person, talking about it, or looking things up. For the last year, we have listened to adults parent shame in person and online because they don't agree with them on health assignments regarding sex. Adults with no kids in public schools or adults with no kids at all telling public school parents what their kids should be learning. And if parents don't agree with them, they are being labeled bad parents or being told they are too dumb to know what they are talking about. Our own Board of Ed putting optional assignments at a higher priority than the protection of our students. Racism, bullying, homelessness, starving students, suicide, and more. I can't help but wonder how many of you have spent any time with our students in grades 6 through 12, especially our at-risk students. How many of you have spoken to older students and asked them how they feel about what they are learning, how they are treated by other students, or what their daily fears are about coming to school? You keep speaking about curriculum, but what makes any of you more qualified than the teachers and staff that we have? I want to thank our Enfield Public School teachers who sometimes spend more time with their students than parents do. Thank you for being able to change with the times and keep an open mind that everyone is different. Thank you for being able to have these uncomfortable yet needed conversations with our students about racism, sex, STDs, AIDS, and how to protect themselves. Thank you for including assignments that relate to the real life issues that our kids face today. Thank you for not shaming our kids about experiences that are normal with age. Thank you for being there for every child every day when they need someone to trust.
Ryan Schutz?
Ryan Schutz, 106 Church Street. Good evening. I believe we are taking a step in the wrong direction. First off, I have zero tolerance for any racism or bullying. I strongly believe we need to take another look at this equity as a curriculum. There's got to be a better way to invoke positive change. Just after the equity class at Enfield High, a mother sat here and stated something about fragile white kids. This is acceptable to say? Switch white around with black. Is it acceptable then? Is this really what and how we want to teach our children to grow up judging a person based off physical appearances as if that has anything to do with what or who that person is? I thought we were past this, and I don't get why we need to teach our children to judge a person based off of skin pigment. This is racism. Keyword, there is teach. Our children, as they see all their peers as equals until society's little boxes come into play. Should we keep making more and more little boxes to put us humans in, or should we make one big box that we can all live in peace and harmony together? I don't care what you are, your skin pigment or your sexual orientation, we are all the same. Each and every unique difference in an individual is the beauty in us all. It's what makes you, you, and me, me. We should celebrate these differences, not feel shame or a need to have special rules or policies for them. Imagine herds of zebras or any other animal in the animal kingdom, separated by numbers of stripes, segregated by these physical appearances, forgetting they're still the same species. They divide in even smaller groups, color tone, boy, girl, etc. How would that look in nature? Not very natural. How would the mental health of these animals be affected? How long would their species as a whole survive? My point is, teaching this anti-racism is teaching someone to judge by their appearance. Isn't and will never be the way. Only further creates division, just more of these little boxes, in my opinion. Why not teach to celebrate all these differences? Or maybe it's not what's on the outside that counts, it's on the inside. Or the good old treat people how you want to be treated. We need to stop looking at everyone as separate and look at us as a whole. Be proud of your heritage. Learn from our past mistakes, as we're all humans. Let's move the human species in the right direction. Let's teach you are you. Embrace that. Also, I feel it was inappropriate.
Mr. Schutz, can you stop for 1 second?
Yep.
Can you guys please stop the chatter in the audience while he's talking?
Thank you. Also, I feel it was inappropriate for a member on the board to wait and speak on something completely irrelevant to the Board of Ed. It should have been settled before last meeting, as the 4th of July parade was, well, in July. But from that, he stated, it's none of Mr. Ungeier's goddamn business, his sexual preference, which it isn't. This made me think, if inappropriate for 2 adults, then why would we think it's okay for an assignment for anyone to be asking our minors their sexual preferences in school? And lastly, for anyone who's listening, I've noticed a lot of people claiming there's all this hate, as the hate is pouring out of them. If there's one thing I know we can all agree on, we need change. If it's change you seek, start with yourself. Self-love is the key. Before pointing your finger, blaming others, this does nothing for us as a whole. Take a good hard look in the mirror and be the change you seek. Thank you.
Tracy Jarvis?
Hello, I'm Tracy Jarvis. I live at 206 North Maple Street. I wanted to first just personally come here and just welcome everyone, all the students, the families, and the faculty to the school. I'm really hoping for an uneventful year this year. I'm not here all the time, but I do watch online, and I'm just so disheartened by just the finger pointing and the strife that seems to have become the norm here in this room. I love this town, and I love my neighbors, and I want nothing more than for everyone to be living the life they choose in peace. It's obvious that we are a diverse town. Some swing far left, some swing far right, and some, the majority, like me, are caught somewhere in the middle. It's obvious that we're diverse. And some parents are fine with their youth learning things that may be divisive in nature by others. And others are simply not. Any assignment that has the potential to be divisive really needs an opt-in option, not an opt-out option. Parents are busy. They're running to and fro from sports to the grocery store, etc. Many don't have time to be on top of everything that comes inside their child's backpack, especially if they have multiple children in multiple schools. Parents are not choosing to abdicate these important lessons by overlooking a paper in their backpack, in their child's backpack. The right to teach youth about sexuality and morality belongs to the parent. So let's not bypass that right by default. Let's, we need to just diffuse the contention and the strife in our community, and I think this is a great way to do that. Thank you.
Marcy Talicio?
Marcy Talicio, Coolidge Drive. All right. First things first, just really important. Kathy does not have a name placard, so if we could just, I don't know how we could operate without her, so she deserves that at least. Okay, so I was all prepared and then I got flustered. So let's see here. I want to ask Mr. Ungeyer if, because I have a white family, in fact, I'm the only black person in my entire family, I also have white friends, does that mean that I can not possibly be racist? Somebody mentioned that Josh's comments were inappropriate. Well, then you're not going to like this. This is in response to Mr. Ungeyer's comments in the last meeting. Many of the topics on race last meeting were ignorant, provocative, and inflammatory. Let me start in order of the comments made, and I quote the first one. I had a black friend. This is offensive because it is a cover for the benefits of white privilege. Having or having had a black friend can and has been used to justify and defend one's behavior. Having a black friend is using the relationship as a prop. This goes back as far as slavery, when slave owners would say that their slaves were their friends. It's pretty ridiculous. And I quote, a church that was all African American. First, I'm not African American, I'm black, and most people would prefer to be referred as black. We did not come from Africa, our ancestors were stolen from Africa. Why does it matter that a church was all African American? Would you not have done it if it was a white church, or did you just have to make sure that everybody knew that it was an African American church? You say that you were a supporter of that kind of thing. What kind of thing are you referring to? I do hear you, and I quote, I do hear people use the term systemic racism, and I really don't know what that term means. To suggest, Mr. Ungeyer, that you don't know the meaning of systemic racism further proves that you shouldn't be on the Board of Education. Do you remember the training you attended on this subject in February 2020, just before COVID hit? You were there. What do you remember about it? It doesn't sound like you retained the information that included the definition of systemic racism. And I quote, show me a rule or law that supports racism. This is facetious and ignorant. And I don't have this, I don't have to explain this any further than that. It's absolutely ridiculous that you said that. Stupid people say stupid things. Yeah, they do. Self-reflection. I don't think Enfield is a racist community. I don't believe that, you say. And how do you explain the racial slurs directed at black people in Enfield?
Mrs. Talicio, I just have to ask you to wrap it up. I gave Mr. Schutz a couple of extras, so I'm just giving you a couple extras.
Oh,
So you
where am I? How many?
Yeah, you're at your time.
Okay.
Yep, and you're over.
I'll finish. This is the last point anyway. How do you explain the racial slurs directed at black people in Enfield, the noose hanging on a tree in Enfield, don't tread on me flags flying in town? Look further into white privilege. This child was a victim of a hate crime as defined by the U.S. DOJ. He was threatened to be shot on the basis of his color. I know you're looking at me with sarcasm. It's not appealing.
Thank you, Ms. Talicio. Alyssa Suter. Did I say it correctly this time, Alyssa? Okay.
Okay. Is it still on? Okay. Alyssa Suter, I live on Prospect Street, and I am the mom of a fragile white child myself. So that's, I'm allowed to say whatever I want to. Okay. So, I read this once, and then I added a few things, so if I do go over, it'll be like 5 seconds, I promise. Okay. I'm here to respond to our conversation after the meeting. You have chosen not to put effort into understanding systemic racism, which is something that affects roughly 30% of the children you're supposed to be advocating for here in Enfield. You made that decision not to pay attention, just like Tina and Amanda and others have made the decision to continue educating themselves, and that's the problem. One of the other problems that I personally have is the fact that a cisgendered, heterosexual white male is constantly making himself a focal point every time that we talk about racism. Your black friend from church and now your Latino family member. But the point really is, did you not have the same anti-racist training the rest of the BOE did last year or so ago, like Marcy just talked about? Why didn't you dive into that? Because you have the choice not to. When we say systemic racism, we don't mean you personally are the most racist, N-word using, hood-wearing Klansman. You could be, but that's not what we're saying. Systemic racism is a form of racism that is embedded in the laws and regulations of a society. It manifests as a discrimination in areas such as criminal justice, employment, housing, healthcare, education, and political representation. You asked me how we change it in 2022. By acknowledging racism for what it is and always has been in this country. By realizing that you live in a different world than black and brown people do, to your benefit. Have you educated yourself on the school-to-prison pipeline? How much of a negative have you looked into how much of a negative impact SROs have on differently abled children, black and brown kids? These are things as a Board of Education member you need to know, or you're not doing your job to the best of your ability. Black and brown kids in this town experience things like the 14-year-old football player experienced constantly. Ask them. Whether it's somebody grabbing their purse closer as they walk by each other, security following them around a store because they think they're stealing, or blatant racist acts like the other week. Maybe you could set up a meeting, a black and brown student assembly, or have students write anonymously about events that they've experienced. And listen to what they have to say. Taking care of Enfield students is the reason that you are here, and you have been actively showing them you do not believe them or do not care enough to try to understand. Calling the police and asking why this one incident wasn't handled the way that you saw fit doesn't earn a pat on the back. It's reactionary. So let's come up with some preventative maintenance. We're talking about black kids in your schools feeling unsafe in their daily lives, not Hartford or inner city schools that you automatically start talking about when we start bringing up issues of racism. That right there is implicit bias. If you're black, you're poor, and you live in Hartford. No. You have plenty of black, brown, and LGBTQ people in this town that you have left without a voice. Assuming that you'll tell me that you don't know what implicit bias is, please visit implicit.harvard.edu. Thank you.
Christina Lang.
Thank you. Christina Lang, 90 South Road, corner of Ellis. I've been watching the Board of Ed, but I wanted to say only a couple of things tonight. First of all, I am glad to be here on this night, and I agree it's wonderful to see the kids back in school. I was raised here. From a year and a half old till I graduated Enfield High School in 1970. I spent some years nearby, then I went to California. I've been back for many years now taking care of my mother who passed, and now, because of COVID, I've learned to make this home. That's my background. My background is that I'm a privileged white girl. Didn't even know it, had no clue. And it took going away to see that. And I think everybody should go away for a while and come back. But I've been appalled at what was being said after the racial slur incident here at this Board of Education. I'm not here to just pick on one person, though it seems like we have need. I'm here to say that nobody on this board needs to be ignorant of what's in this town, and it's a danger these days if you are. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Mr. Ungar. So I went to the library. Me being a reader, actually I talked to them first and I said, well, tell me what we have for resources, some people need it. I found out that if you just take the term structural racism, which is pretty much the same as systemic racism, in the adult section they have 58 books and counting. I have some here. In the children's section, they have a good number of them that deal with racism. Now, I'll bring these back soon so you can take them out. Erasing Racism.
Nice racism, how progressive white people perpetuate racial harm. Good book. The Talk, which some people seem to be afraid of having, letting their teachers talk to kids about things like body parts. Conversations about race, love, and truth. You should have conversations about those things. And here is the kid book I love so much, Not My Idea, a book about whiteness. Be brave, folks, or don't be on the board at all. Thank you.
Liz Davis.
Good evening. My name's Liz Davis. I reside at 201 North Maple Street. First of all, I want to start off thanking our Teacher of the Year for coming and speaking a presentation you put on. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for all our educators. Because of all what you guys do, makes it a lot easier for us being parents at home because of amazing teachers like you. So thank you so much and taking the time to come here tonight. I also shout out to the PLA to thank them. I'm a Class 8 graduate. And then a shout out to our People Empowering People, which is another great organization in town. So first, I would have to just, pretty pathetic. We have to even, a white person sitting there saying we don't have a racist in town. I don't know why we keep having white men say that. I mean, I just don't get it. We have an issue in town. We've had an issue. Let's take ownership and let's resolve it. We have children being hurt, children being threatened. Maybe because it's not your child, you don't care. I care about every child every day. So maybe you should start. What's also very amazing, the same people, I swear we have a couple cult churches in town. Nothing new, I've been saying it. Constantly people want to come and they bring the church people and they'll talk about our sex ed school. My child took it, she's fine. Okay? I thank our health department. What a great program we have. And if I didn't want my child to do it, we have parent choice here. I can just take my child out of it. Can you imagine that? I can take my child out of any class. Oh my God. Maybe if y'all had a parent in a public school, you damn well would know that. So now with that, I have issues with people messing with our children's education and along with the cults. We do not want sex ed, but if we look at our churches, is the highest population of touching our children. I, for one, want my child to know that no one has the right to touch them, and I want every child to learn that. Now, if you look at other states, we have a 10-year-old. They can't have an abortion, right? Because of their cult people. But that child is old enough to give birth. Wow. That's what I'd be worried about if that's coming to the Enfield publication, Enfield Public School. Are we going to make our children have to give birth after they're raped and molested by their family members or their priests or somebody in their church? That's my concern, not if we're going to teach sex ed. My concern that we're going to keep every child safe here from the cults that are in our community. And I want to make sure everybody knows loud and clear, I'll come to every single meeting as long as you attack our education, our children, and our teachers. I don't care if I'm on my deathbed. I will be here. Our children deserve a voice, and you are definitely not one of them.
Audiences are closed. Item 9, board member comments. Ms. Cushman, I'm going to start with you this evening.
I was recently reminded of a quote from Ronald Reagan that seems so timely. He said, "They say the world has become too complex for simple answers. They are wrong. There are no easy answers, but there are simple answers. We must have the courage to do what we know is right. Like you, Ms. Lang, I have an appreciation for books as well, and I enjoy reading. And for the past couple of months, I've read articles about and seen a lot of sexually explicit and grossly inappropriate books that are finding their way into our school classrooms and libraries.
Ms. Cushman, people are leaving. I just want you to hold on a second.
And that's not to say that it's here. But although movies and songs and other media have guidelines in place for what constitutes obscenity, surprisingly, there is no set criteria or guidelines that exist for books. At present, whoever is put in charge of reviewing library selection is able to make the decision. In order to be proactive and to protect our youth from this type of material being brought into our school and classroom libraries, I would like to propose that our district establish clear guidelines to define what constitutes obscenity in books. Having it as an agenda item at the next board meeting to at least start a conversation about it together would be a good first step. This Saturday, September 17th, is Constitution Day. It's a day to commemorate the September 17th, 1787 signing of the United States Constitution. Our Constitution is a unique and valuable document that has set our nation apart as a constitutional republic, a system that ensures that everyone's voice and opinion matters. Federal law requires each educational institution that receives federal funds for a fiscal year to hold an educational program about the U.S. Constitution for its students on or near the actual Constitution Day. Samuel Adams, one of our nation's founding fathers, once said, "The liberties of our country, the freedom of our civil constitution, are worth defending against all hazards, and it is our duty to defend them. Without an understanding and appreciation of something, little will often be done to fight for or to preserve it." I just would hope that our teachers in the next coming week would take the time to implement some meaningful and educational activities to help our students understand and appreciate our unique Constitution. Ideas can be found on the U.S. Department of Education website, as well as the website that's constitutionday.com. Regarding Parkman Elementary School, I just wanted to mention that their PTO fundraiser encourages spending time with family and the Parkman School community while enjoying a soccer game between the Hartford Athletics and the Oatlakin Roots. Tickets can be purchased at hartfordathletic.group/Parkman PTO for a game that's October 8th at 7 p.m. at the Trinity Health Stadium in Hartford. Thank you.
Dr. Calnan?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to start with a few quick words about COVID, which I'm sure everybody wants to talk about at this point. The CDC reports that COVID hospitalizations for children under 5 nationwide have steadily risen over the summer months. And this is worrisome for 3 reasons. First, if the hospitalization rate has actually risen during vacation season, it seems pretty likely that it will rise even more abruptly as children return to school. Currently, the hospitalization rate for infants and toddlers exceeds that for kids from 5 to 17 years of age. Secondly, mandatory social distancing and the use of masks have now been terminated for all intents and purposes, except for Head Start. And the only protection left to young children is vaccination. But thirdly, vaccination rates for young children remains extremely low. Nationwide, only 7% have received at least 1 injection. So I'm making a plea for all families to get their children vaccinated against COVID, including their younger children. Even if kids don't generally get terribly ill with COVID, they can certainly transmit the infection to elderly or compromised members of their families. And we shouldn't forget that this epidemic is far from over. So just a couple of remarks about Stowe. One of the challenges of early child care and education is to quickly identify children with developmental challenges so that intervention can be undertaken expeditiously. Success depends on timeliness of intervention. Unfortunately, the time-honored paper and pencil method of filling out questionnaires can be time-consuming and impractical in a school or a clinical setting, and parents may feel rushed, as may the staff in grading and assessing these questionnaires. As most of you already know, the Office of Early Childhood has awarded the Family Resource Center a grant to utilize the Sparkler app. Sparkler is a way of conducting developmental screens digitally so that parents may complete them at their leisure in the comfort of their own homes. Amy Morales will be working with an ad hoc committee to look into how Sparkler can best be utilized in the setting of the Stowe Early Learning Center and how results can be shared with healthcare providers while honoring the need for family confidentiality. Brianna Beckwith has recently talked with Mary Peniston, the executive director of the Early Childhood Funder Collaborative, a branch of the Connecticut Council of Philanthropy. The collaborative is in the process of determining the best way to address the challenges of infant mental health at the community level. And I'm pleased to announce KITE was one of only 2 community collaboratives they asked to participate. In October, the first cycle of the Circle of Security series will be provided to the teachers of the Stowe Head Start and STEAM classrooms. This will familiarize teachers with the Circle of Security concept so that they in turn can knowledgeably talk with parents about what the program has to offer their families. Teachers can also apply what they've learned to their own work with their students. The same process will hopefully be repeated in the spring to involve the teacher assistants. Ultimate goal will be to offer Circle of Security to parents of children attending Stowe. KITE met on September 7th in person for the first time in 2 years. The membership reviewed ongoing activities grouped under the 3 goals of the Enfield Childhood Community Plan. Number 1, Enfield children are healthy, safe, and happy. Number 2, Enfield children live in thriving families with strong ties to their neighbors and the broader community. And number 3, Enfield children gain the skills they need to succeed in both school and life. Also reviewed at this meeting were the collaborative goals for the school year 2022 to 2023, which include to be a broad and inclusive collaborative, to use data strategically, and to review and update the KITE governance structure. Lastly, the 2Gen Committee met on September 8th in the office of the Chamber of Commerce. A long brainstorming session resulted in the conclusion that 2Gen would be most effective if it limited its efforts to addressing a single major obstacle for families, and that was the inadequate availability of quality child care services for working families. Thank you.
Ms. Acree?
Hello, I'd like to start by saying thank you for the PLA presentations of Melissa and Amy. I thank them for the work that they do in our community to empower the parents in our community to become confident and productive leaders. Also, I enjoyed the presentation, the PEP presentation by Lorena. I would like to thank them for helping the community by putting their best foot forward. Also, helping the different cultures in Enfield and helping Enfield to become a better place. I do have information from the desk of our new principal of Prudence Crandall, Mr. Andrew Dupere. He says, "It was great to see all the smiling faces back in the building. Teachers and students are busy getting into their classroom routines and getting to know each other." An update. He says last Friday, Prudence Crandall had their combined welcome back picnic with their sister school, Henry Barnard. The PTO did an amazing job creating a welcoming environment for all of the students. They served hot dogs and juice and had goodies to give out to the students, and a magician that wowed the crowd. He would also like to highlight that the first Spirit Week of the year for Crandall is September 26th through September 30th. So some of the things that will be happening. For example, on Monday, they're going to have Crazy Hair Day. Get creative with your hair. Tuesday, Crazy Socks Day. Children can wear crazy socks on that day. Wednesday is called Wacky Tacky. Dress as wacky as you dare. The Thursday of that week is the sports day. So the students can wear their favorite sport or team gear. And on Friday is the school colors day. So they would like the students to wear red or blue. Thanks.
Mr. Hamry?
Thank you. So first, I want to start off with the Friday night football game and sincere thoughts and prayers for a full recovery to the player that was involved. I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge that the response was just amazing, and it's surreal to be in a setting that in that group with a crowd that size and have absolutely no sound coming from anybody except the people that are involved in the incident. So I'm very hopeful for the student, and I hope that everything is on the road to a full recovery. To that point, I don't want to pass up the opportunity to congratulate the football team itself. At the time of the incident, they were up 14-7. And it was an exciting moment. I don't know the last time I've been to a Enfield game where the score was in our favor so early in the game. It was amazing. And to that point, the band did a fantastic job, both with the national anthem at the start of the game, as well as responding to every touchdown, to both touchdowns at the appropriate time. And they seemed to be caught a little bit off guard, but that's a good time, a good thing to be face, a good problem to have to be ready for another musical performance with another touchdown. Kudos to Amber Venuzos for being an amazing teacher, and I please forgive me, but I believe one of my children was one of your students. Thank you. My head is all over the place with the schools and the teachers over the years. Your acknowledgement of your students is testament to your approach and the effect that it has on those students. I want to thank thank Melissa and Amy from PLA for showing up and representing that organization and all the good they do. Same thing for Lorena and Rich from the People Empowering People. Amazing. JFK's PTO update. I want to thank and acknowledge Leslie Lawler, the new PTO president this year. She's taken the initiative to provide me some information on the updates for the PTO moving forward, which I appreciate because I won't always be able to make the meetings. To that point, the JFK PTO meeting has their first school meeting tomorrow night in the cafeteria at 6:30. Everyone is welcomed and encouraged to join them. Going forward, the meetings will be held on the second Wednesday of each month, and this year their meetings will be rotating between one in-person and one online to accommodate the staff and the families. Given the size of the school, that's a very good approach to making sure that everybody's able to participate as widely and often as possible. There's the upcoming Cherrydale Fall fundraiser that will be kicking off this week and will run through September 30th. Please watch for information in the next few days. And then this coming Sunday, please stop by the JFK booth at Family Day happening here on the town green. They'll be selling Croc charms. I can only imagine those are charms that go on Crocs. I tend to be Tiva, so I'm going to hopefully they'll accommodate the Tiva adjustment. And also bracelets in the JFK colors of red, white, and blue. So I look forward to seeing the Family Day JFK representation here, and please support them at that fundraiser. I appreciate all the speakers that came out to speak, regardless of what the topic was. I appreciate the perspectives and the opinions, and I do wish that everybody stuck around to watch the entire board meeting in person. That is always better than hearing about it after the fact. I do want to take a moment to ask slightly, this may be something suitable for items from the table, but seeing that there's nothing here, I do want to ask Andy through the chair if we can look into a possible policy, if there's one that exists in CABE or somewhere else in the in your purview, if there's a possibility that we have a discussion of a policy that would address this board and the future boards and the steps that might be taken in terms of censoring, in terms of disciplinary actions for the board, any board member that may be forgetting that we have a responsibility and doing things that are in direct contradiction to the purpose of the board and what we are here to do. So if there's something we can talk about during the policy meeting, that'd be great. I appreciate that. And again, if there's a better time to talk about that, that'd be great. And I would like to say that I'm surprised that we have a comment about discussing books and obscenities and things like that. It's not surprising, not even a little. Quite frankly, if there's a barometer of the national level politics, it boils down here to Enfield eventually. At some point or other, there's no surprises left in what is going to happen with the efforts to control what is being taught and what books are being offered, and through means that are meant to diminish the expertise of those people in the role to make those decisions, the ones that we entrust to make those decisions. So we do have subject matter experts on the payroll in the town that have that responsibility as they have been educated to the role through countless years of studying to obtain the title of, in this case, let's just say librarian, who have that position to determine what books would be beneficial for the better of the community. But again, not surprising that it's come up that we have to talk about it in this town, in this time. Just disappointed once again. Thank you.
Mr. Ungar?
So I'm trying to figure out where to start here. So Hazardville Memorial School. First off, I would like to say congratulations to Amber. Fantastic. What a great job. What a great gift you have. And thank you for sharing that gift with our children here in Enfield, Connecticut. I assure you that when every one of your students gets to be my age, not a single one will ever forget you. They will always remember you. And that is a very special thing, and we're all very, very proud of you. Speaking of Hazardville Memorial, on Wednesday, September 14th, that's tomorrow, is the Hazardville Memorial Open House. And on Tuesday, September 20th, is the PTO meeting on Teams. It's at 7. And on Friday, September 23rd at Hazardville Memorial, is the Welcome Back Picnic. And that picnic is more of a potluck picnic. So bring your food to the picnic, okay? I like it when board meetings are all happy and hurrah and all that. And unfortunately, boards have to deal with business, okay? And that's part of what we're dealing with here tonight is business. I'm sorry that you're exposed to a lot of that, but it is what it is. Mr. Schutz, I agree with what you said. I think I'm all in favor of putting a check in the big box that, we're all part of the same race, and that's the human race. And I think if we all look at each other as members of the same team, and we all start pulling together as members of the same team, respecting each other as members of the same team, we're going to get a lot farther than a lot of little boxes. The last board meeting, a board member said I'm going to say this. He said, he mentioned, he was talking about Pizzagate. And he said about putting it to rest. There's been many, many, many conversations. Said it's been addressed ad nauseum. It's done. Well, he'd like it to be done, that's for sure. I'd like it to be done. I know most of the time when people say, there's nothing to see here, it's usually like, what's there to see there? So if it's done, then why do we continue to get emails from concerned parents? I've talked to some of these parents. I've asked them, is it done? Are you satisfied? Do you have the answers to the questions? And not a single one of them has said, oh yeah, I've got answers from somebody. Answers from anybody on this board, answers from the superintendent, answers from anybody in the administration. Nobody's got anything. None of the parents got anything. So they're saying, no, it's not done. It's not done until we get some answers. Someone sent me a couple of articles. This is a gentleman by the name of Chris Powell. Chris Powell spent 44 years as the managing editor at the Journal-Inquirer. And he writes about our board. He says about the infamous pizza sex assignment. He says the Board of Education has not yet figured out how it happened. And so to refresh everybody's memory, he writes, the assignment told students to use pizza topping choices as metaphors in negotiating with each other the sexual acts in which they would like to participate. He says about this board, again, he says, all this tortured contemplation aims to avoid getting the answer the school board only pretends to be seeking. To avoid asking School Superintendent Chris Drezek for a candid report on how the assignment got into the classroom and exactly where it came from and how much school administrators knew about it before it descended on students. He asks, where did the Pizzagate assignment come from? Some lesson planning service to which the school subscribes? And if so, to what service and what products will it send our school system? He says, how much more of this crackpot stuff has gotten into Enfield Public Schools? Tina, would you please? Yes. Yeah, thank you. Who thinks that middle school students be instructed to reveal and discuss their sexual desires with each other in class? The only information provided by the superintendent so far is that the school system had 2 consensus building lessons using pizza toppings, and that the sexual one was sent to the classroom because of a staff member's innocent mistake. Was it an innocent mistake? Was the assignment a mistake in the first place, or was it a policy decision? But for some reason, the school board won't ask him in public. And when this columnist was asked, he said that the school board was reviewing the matter. He suggests that the school board may have already been privately told where the assignment came from and is supporting the superintendent's cover-up. So, I'm going to read that. In a letter that he issued, in another article he issued last month, he said complaints from parents about the pizza sex assignment, but nothing about how it came into the school systems focuses on the request. Drezek refused to say whether there are any documents addressing the assignment, and so he's going on to say that the Enfield Board of Education has purported to be investigating the pizza sex assignment for 7 months, but has disclosed nothing about it. The board needs only to ask the superintendent at a public meeting to explain how the assignment got into the school system, that the board has not done so suggests that it already knows and doesn't want its constituents to know. So, to Mr. Powell, although some people on the board think that they know the answers, I can tell you that there are others on the board who don't know the answers. Okay? And we'd like to put an end to this, okay? I'd like to move on and put an end to this and put this in the rearview mirror and have it taken care of. So, in an effort to do that, some of us from our caucus are putting together questions that some of the parents have not received answers to, and we will be providing them to the superintendent by Friday of this week.
That has to go through the chair. You have to provide them to me.
Well,
Everything
I
that
haven't
goes to
heard
the
that.
superintendent.
I've asked them, superintendent.
Everything goes through the chair. You have to say to the chair,
Okay.
can I give that to the superintendent?
Okay,
I will address that in my comments.
okay. So I feel like we've let the parents of Enfield down by not doing anything, by not getting answers to these questions that they've asked. We need to know the answers, and it's in the spirit of full transparency. And that's what we need in Enfield, because it's the Enfield Public Schools. We should have transparency in our school system. Some school systems have partnering with parents, providing transparency with parents. I'd like that to be one of the goals here in Enfield. So, so we'd like to submit the questions directly to the superintendent. We would like the superintendent to provide us with the answers.
Again, you need to change your wording. You have to go through the chair to
We'll go
submit
through the
something
chair then.
to the superintendent.
If that's the procedure, if that's the proper procedure,
That
then
is
we
the
will
proper
go through the proper
procedure. When
procedure.
you, just like Mr. Hamry asked through the chair to Mr. Longi.
Okay. Now, I know that earlier I had called for a parent action committee, a task force to address this issue, this very important issue. It evolved into Amanda and myself working on trying to put a parent advisory committee together. I know that parent advisory committee will address some very, very important things in Enfield, and I have high hopes that it'll be useful in addressing and solving many issues here in Enfield. I am not overly confident, though, that it will address the questions that these parents need answers to. Okay? And so apart from that, that is why I'm proposing submitting questions directly to the superintendent that will address that through the chair. With regard to discrimination, okay, I'd like to talk a little bit about discrimination. Last week, there was a video that was released by an organization called Project Veritas, where the vice principal of Coscob Greenwich Elementary School was admitting to hiring discrimination based on being a conservative, discrimination based on being a member of a certain religious group, discrimination based on being an older educator, over 30. Immediately, the governor of the state of Connecticut held a press conference and denounced that discrimination and denounced what he saw. The Attorney General for the state of Connecticut held another press conference and said that he was opening an investigation into that. I'd like to think that type of discrimination is not embraced here, encouraged. I'd like to know that it's denounced here in Enfield. all types of discrimination would be denounced here in Enfield. It's discouraging to see those kinds of things. It's unfortunate to the students and the administration in Greenwich. And although sometimes we think of discrimination that's based on race, it's not always based on race. There's a variety of factors that factor into discrimination. And those are my comments.
Ms. Pickett?
All right, so I'm going to respond directly to you, Mr. Unghire. Ms. Gilly asked a question about this, and Ms. Jarvis, you mentioned it in your comments as well. I do believe that we had publicly addressed the pizza assignment. I think Chris addressed it. I think we have spoken about it. You can go back to meetings and watch over and over and over again. So what I'd want to just share, health sex ed is an opt-out. Parents get forms. Actually, I think somebody in our community posted one of those emails that goes out to families. It is clear the topics that are addressed, how to reach out to the teacher to get out of the class if you're not comfortable, how to speak to a teacher if you'd like more information about the lessons being provided. So I encourage parents, if you're concerned, reach out to your teachers. They're more than happy to share what they're teaching in class and answer any questions you might have. The other piece is the State Department of Ed has grade level standards for this. It's called the Healthy and Balanced Living Framework. I've seen this being stretched and misused as well. These are standards. They don't provide curriculum and they don't provide lessons. It is based on grade bands and concepts that should be covered in each grade band. Based off of that, Enfield Public Schools selects curriculum and lessons on how to meet those standards. So lessons that are delivered in class are aligned to those standards. The mistake that happened was a mistake, and that's how it's been addressed, and so that is what I have to say about that. As far as our Parents Advisory Committee that we're working on, I'm going to make it really clear this will not be a pizza investigation. There are a slew of issues that we get from families that, to me, represent our families way more than a few emails that we get from consistent families that I'm not sure are actually Enfield Public School families. And so with that, I just want to say, if we're proposing agenda items or ways that we address questions with Chris, I think process is important. There are much bigger issues that we should be addressing and discussing. I'm done talking about sex ed and health. It is clear our laws around that and the standards that we use. Mr. Schultz, I encourage you to build a relationship with your child's teacher. I don't believe the way that you described equity being addressed in our schools is accurate, and I think it's important that we accurately display that work, so I'm hoping to hear more about our equity efforts in our schools. Now to the things that I really want to talk about. Thank you to our staff for back to school. I often say the best parts of my day are pickup. I get out of work in time to actually be able to go to Enfield Street School and pick up my kids from school. I'm not the only parent that's there. So I take that time to be a mom and listen to the other parents, engage with them. We play on the playground afterwards. And what I'm hearing is amazing things about Enfield. So Chris, I would totally agree with you. The opening of school has been amazing. I've only heard amazing things from our families. I encourage them all to share those things with their teachers because I know you all need to hear it more. And we all thank you and know about the amazing work that you're doing, not just teachers as well, the amazing staff of our buildings. The other piece I would like to address is I love the revised mission tagline. I'm really ready to know what that means. So again, kind of back to my equity comment, I'd love to have Ms. Coxwell back and understand how we're assessing our needs and how we might include this work in our alliance plan, our district goals, and use of our ARP funds. Chris, I want to commend you for reimagining schools. So I heard a little bit about organizational changes way back when, and again, a little bit here tonight. But there's been a lot being talked about post-COVID. We need to reimagine education. And it sounds like you have some tangible ways that you're doing that. So I appreciate that, and thank you on that. Enfield Street School. So last week, we had a family picnic. I posted about it on Facebook, and I don't really know how to describe it. It was my first in-person live event. My son's a second grader. We've never been to a typical school event because COVID has impacted all of that. The amount of families that showed up was amazing. The amount of staff that showed up was amazing. So our amazing PTO, our amazing staff who put that together, it was breathtaking. It gave me shivers. It filled my heart with joy. It's so exciting to be back. I also want to commend Mr. Lord and Ms. Caldato. I see a new addition to the Enfield Street School newsletter with classroom shout-outs. As a mom, I love that. So getting to see what's happening in the various classrooms with photos and little shout-outs. I had missed it the first time, and then my son's teacher mentioned it in her little newsletter. I was like, oh, what did I miss? So I appreciate that new addition. We have open house tomorrow night from 6 to 7. There's also Family Day here on the town green this Sunday from 11:30 to 4. If you haven't seen on Facebook and on the town website, it is a fun-filled day. There is something going on every minute from 11:30 to 4. So I encourage families to come out. I also just want to thank all of the partners who come together to put that on. It truly shows how our community can come together and support families. Our next Enfield Street School PTO meeting is on the 21st, and Picture Day is on the 27th. ERFC is having a farm to table dinner fundraiser on October 15th. You can get more information on erfcinc.org. I also encourage you to check out their website because they continuously add programs and things that they're offering to our students in our community. So before and after school programs, weekend programs, clubs, definitely encourage families to check them out. I just want to add a little bit to Jean's update on Prudence Crandall. I happened to be there and was told about a large donation from Walmart and Pack Leaders Dog Rescue that Miss Julie Nuzzo, a 5th grade teacher, was able to broker this amazing school supply donation where teachers got to shop and fill up their buckets with all the things they need for their classrooms, and they're even sharing an abundance of that stuff with other schools in town. So thank you, Miss Nuzzo, for that, and thank you, Walmart and Pack Dog Rescue. I also just want to say in the celebration of diversity, it is Hispanic Heritage Month, so from September 15th to October 15th. Please make sure you take the chance to learn, reflect, and share with others. Thanks.
Mr. LeBlanc?
Tonight, I want to look ahead to next year, and the reason I say that, through the chair to the superintendent, can we, and a reason I'm bringing it up today is because it may take time to put together, and it entails when the semester ends, but just a report on, or an evaluation on where we stand academically now that hopefully, knock on wood, school's in session for an entire semester. It would just be nice to get a report on academic standards in the early part of next year after one semester.
Yes.
So some of you may have heard that our latest academic data was released by the state of Connecticut. It was embargoed for quite some time. We now have it. We're in the process of doing it. So I know that Michelle, through the curriculum subcommittee, is also typically would do a report to them and then ultimately to the full board. So that is actually in the works. Yes.
That's all I have tonight.
Mr. Ryder?
I appreciate everybody on the board with their PTO reports. That was something over the years that was exclusively done by myself. And I've noticed that over the years, everybody is taking the adopt a school position much more seriously. And I appreciate everybody reporting on the schools that they liaise for. It's very important. It shouldn't come from one voice. It should come from all of us because this is why we're here for our schools. Just a few dates for Eli Whitney. Tonight they were going to have their welcome back picnic / open house. The welcome back picnic portion was canceled because of pending weather, but the open house did occur, and I hope that went well. I'm sorry that we were here and not there, but I wish you guys all the best. To all the Whitney Wolves for the school year. A few people have already mentioned Family Day on the town green, so I'm going to let our kite liaison speak to that when we get to that. But this is for all 5th graders at Parkman, at Crandall, and at Whitney as well, obviously. But on September 19th is the grade 5 instrumental rental night. the information program. That's at JFK. That's for all fifth graders at all three schools. So you can go to JFK at 6:30 that evening, and that's where if you pick an instrument to play this year, you can get all the information about the rental and how you're able to follow the sport of music. Also at Eli Whitney on September 21st, the third and fourth graders will be doing an Earth Dome presentation. This is something that they've done before in the schools, so I'm glad that two of our grade levels at this time will be participating. There's also the Eli Whitney PTO meeting that evening at 5:30. Again, that's September 21st. Also a reminder, early release day, September 28th. That is for all schools here in Enfield. So at the grade 3-5 level, that'd be a 135 dismissal, 150 at K2, et cetera, et cetera. I said a lot in my invocation, and I, again, just wanted to thank all the schools that Donovan and his brother Caleb have attended, and for all your support over the years with that. And I just wanted to ask all the administrators that are watching if you could just make sure that my school board address, sryder, SRYDER at EnfieldSchools, is just on all your distribution lists for any emails. That way I can just put a copy of everything on EnfieldPTO.com. Obviously, the 9 of us are utilizing it. I know our families are as well. We've had over 2,500 visits in the last couple of weeks from individual users because it's the start of the school year, so people are looking at bus routes and hot lunch menus, and I'm very proud and happy to share that with everybody for five years now or more. So if you could just make sure that I'm on your email list, that would be great. This is a way to share our communications not only through social media, which we know not everybody's on, but it's just through a simple.com that everybody has access to. And I save all the s'mores, weekly emails, et cetera, for like up to 6 weeks at most schools. So even if you missed something last Friday and you've already deleted that email, you can go back and see five or 6 weeks worth of information on the website there. So thank you to all of our schools. Thank you to all of our students for a successful opening. Yesterday was our first Monday. I actually texted my daughter last week on Tuesday and said, "How was your first Monday of school?" She's like, "I'll let you know next week." It was another Tuesday start. So we've had 2 Tuesday starts and we had our first Monday start. And I guess all 3 were successful, at least in our house. And I hope for all of you as well at home. So thank you to everybody that made that possible, from our administrators to our staff, our teachers, especially in the classroom, but everybody that has a hand, every adult in our building has a hand in shaping our kids' days, and I just wanted to say thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say a couple things. First, Ms. Jarvis, you had indicated that you had felt that the sex health curriculum that should be coming from parents. I believe that parents have that choice, but I also know that there are kids in different living situations that may be being raised by grandparents or family relatives that don't necessarily feel comfortable in teaching their kids that. So we have to take that into consideration. Mr. Jezik, I have a few questions for you. How many parents of the students that received the pizza assignment emailed the school system? I want the students who actually received the pizza assignment, those parents.
The email the district or me?
Whatever.
Me?
But only the kids.
Kids that were in
Yes.
in that class?
Yes.
I received 1.
Okay. What about JFK? Do we have that number?
I believe at last count it was 4.
4. Okay. So how many students do we have in the district?
About 5,000.
Correct. Okay. How many FOI requests have we had on the pizza assignment? Approximately.
A lot.
And what happens when we get FOI'd? We have to spend money on an attorney.
Yes. Correct.
Right. So some of those editorials that were written were as a result of FOI requests. And if we don't comply to the FOI requests, we're putting ourselves in a pretty precarious legal situation, correct?
Correct.
Right. So any Board of Ed emails that are on the Board of Ed server, you can't hide them.
No.
They're taken right from our email addresses, even if they've been deleted, as I understand.
Correct.
Okay. So, Mr. Ungeier, is it a question the that things that were answered weren't an answer that was accepted, or was it a question of something else? Because this has been addressed several times. And what's really bothering me is that people on my Board of Ed have been responsible for feeding this frenzy. And we have all sat up here and seen what is in emails to the people on our right. I have afforded grace. I have afforded my time. And I have been lied to and backstabbed, and that has been very apparent in FOI requests, how I am viewed on this Board of Ed. And I still sat up here, and I still afforded the grace and the time. But this is not some place to sit up and campaign for a November election. How many other superintendents, Mr. Drezek, addressed the issue that happened in Greenwich? Do you have a number besides the one that we know about?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay, I would also like people to, if you're interested in that letter from the superintendent, you might also want to Google an editorial that a concerned Ellington parent wrote about that letter that came out. There's two sides to every story. You're all on the BOE. You can ask those questions. You say, why don't we look as a board? And you're looking at us because don't forget, we're the liberal Democrats that some of your friends want to expose. We saw it in those FOI requests. When we partner with parents, as that is not going to be a pizza task force, when we partner with parents, that is the operative word, parents of kids in our school system. Every parent has a right to ask what their student is learning. And I've had parents say to me, well, I want to put my kid back in the system. I want to know what they're learning in health. That is your right. Email that teacher and say, I know my student is starting health. We all have Power School. You can see what they're saying. Say, I'm concerned about the health curriculum. I don't want them to learn it. But this is becoming a political ideology. And what's even worse is the threats that some of us have received as a result, and how some people were proud of that, and that we were told that we deserved the threats because we didn't address it. It was a personnel matter. We do not get involved in personnel matters. We have important issues in this town. We had a student die of cancer. We had a student collapse on a field. 50% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch. And we talk about graduation robes and leading a district. Leading the district is standing up and being a partner and not running on political ideology at the expense of our kids. We're talking about hurting our kids. Did a kid ever, I don't know, so tortured over reading a book that I read in high school? We are trying to reverse time. We are trying to censor what we have no idea what we are censoring. We have teachers, we have educational leaders that have gotten their master's degree. And it's not on just curriculum. It's on behaviors and the involvement of child development, how they start at pre-K and go through grades 12. Don't tell me we didn't answer it, and don't tell me we're hiding anything. I'm not going to listen to it anymore. Let's talk about the real problems in this district. I'm so frustrated, and I will remind everybody, I am the chair of this Board of Ed, and everything goes through me. Now, what I really came to talk about, Amber, thank you so much. You really encompassed, really were able to encompass what Enfield Public Schools means to a lot of parents. And as I was sitting here, parents just kept coming in, and not only were the kids hugging you, but the parents were. And again, a lot of us got emotional because having kids in the school system, we know exactly what you meant. Let's see. Let me flip my page again. Okay. I was very upset to hear what had happened at the football home opener. It's very scary if you have an athlete, even if you don't have an athlete, to see a student collapse on the field. What I do want to speak to is the common theme from that is how incredible our coaches and our players were to the other team. And have had the honor of having some of those coaches coach my own students during some really difficult times. I mean, they had a student get killed in one of their times. They, again, are another testament to how wonderful this district is. And my prayers go out to the student, and I'd like continual updates on how he's doing. Next, Donovan, to Donovan's family. I didn't have the pleasure to know Donovan, but I know that Scott spoke very highly, and I wish many prayers and condolences. And earlier this week, I had said sometimes the strongest people in our lives are the people with cancer, because they're very selfless, because they really do it all for us, even when they're sometimes too tired to do it. Safe Grad, Melissa Roy, who is here, she's also Miss Safe Grad Extraordinaire with Leslie Lawler. There's a Safe Grad Comedy Night Saturday, September 24th at Mount Carmel with comedians Brian Plum and Tim McKeever. Single tickets are $35, reserve a table of 10 for $300. Also, Safe Grad wants the residents to save bottles and cans. Safe Grad is doing a bottle and can drive in mid-October. Also, Safe Grad will be Family Day on the Green selling snow cones and pizza. And they're looking for donations of raffle baskets and different things to help their substance-free event on the night of graduation. Mr. Drezek, I would like to ask you a question. Since we're at the start of the school new year, I'd love to get the student council members back up here with us.
I knew I forgot something. Ms. Clark just notified us today of the 2 student reps that we'll put on your next agenda for you guys to approve, with hopes that they'll be here for the October meeting.
Perfect. I would also like to take a moment to thank Lori Gates for her effort always around September 11th, thanking the first responders, as well as her work on Wreaths Across America. I know we've had to take a break from Wreaths Across America, but we did it a little differently last year, but I'll be looking forward to see if she can work her magic, because she always seems to do that on whatever project she works on. What I had planned on ending with is this. It's National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And mental health is often looked at as a stigma, but so many people suffer from it. And when I say suffer, it's because it's a stigma. So I saw this, somebody wrote this the other day, and I wanted to share it here tonight for the students, the parents, the adults, anybody who might be suffering, that I'm sending love to those who deal with suicidal thoughts, lost a loved one to suicide, feel misunderstood by society, feel alone in their suffering, are scared to speak up, are in therapy. And lastly, you are loved, strong, capable, and valid. Thank you. Item 10, unfinished business. We don't have any. Item 11, new business. Adopt new policies and policy revisions, first reading. Mr. Ryder? Mr. Longi?
I was going to throw it to Mr. Longi, if you don't mind, this evening. If there's any
Absolutely.
questions, thank you.
So in your packet, you have a first reading. The policy committee reviewed these right before the summer, made the changes, and hopefully you had a chance to look at them for a first reading. Remember, it is a first reading, so if there are any questions, concerns, et cetera, you can either discuss them here or reach out to Mr. Ryder, and we actually have a policy meeting on Tuesday. So if there's any changes, we can make that, and we can always bring them back for another first reading. But hopefully you had a chance to look at them.
Anything else, Mr. Ryder? A discussion regarding the policies? Yeah, Ms. Cushman?
The policy regarding the exertional heat illness.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, need a motion first before
Oh,
discussion.
I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to accept this first reading?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ryder, seconded by Mr. Hamry. All in favor? Sorry about that. And now we move on to discussion. Go ahead, Ms. Cushman.
So the exertional heat illness, 5141.71, we had discussed it in committee, and there was one part, the second paragraph after the section of the definitions lists the 4 topics that the awareness program will include but not be limited to. So though the but not be limited to clause leaves room for other topics to be covered, later in the policy it lists those 4 topics as the minimum 4 requirements. suggesting that it is possible that these could be the only topics covered. And I would suggest, it was something we had talked about, but I didn't really follow through on, to have, instead of just the 4 measures, to have a 5th one relating to proactive measures that can be taken to prevent the exertional heat illness. I don't know if that's something we can just table and take back to our committee meeting and discuss it there.
Right, so you can table individual policies. So what Ms. Cushman is asking is that language is added. I wouldn't recommend you start adding language as a group. I would suggest you table it if that's, as a board, it's your decision, not mine. And then on Tuesday, we can always revisit that one policy, then put that one policy back on the agenda for a first reading.
I'm good with that.
Are you okay with that? Okay. Yes, there's just the one on 4111.3, the minority recruitment. At the top, it says requires the development and implementation of a written plan, which I understand from the way it's written that it's the superintendent that would make this written plan. And I just wondered who reviews the written plan, and is there an opportunity for feedback, and does it require approval? Those are my.
So if this policy is passed, so we do not have this policy, but if it is passed, that is the superintendent or his or her designee. It does not say that there's, the plan is approved by the board, so that is the superintendent's purview.
Does that answer your question? Okay. Do you have anything else?
Nope, those are
Okay.
the only two.
All right. Anybody? Ms. Pickett?
So I emailed Mr. Ryder some questions, but there are a couple things that I just want to put, and some of them are not going to determine like policy language changes. So one is on 5141.214, which was the opioid overdose response. And I guess this is where I find sometimes the nuance of policy is written guidance, and then there's implementation of policy, which doesn't always get kind of translated in how policy is written. So things I'm wondering about is how are there protocols for determining if it's an opioid overdose? There are times where you can actually cause more harm if you respond, and it's not an opioid overdose. So I'm just wondering how we're determining it being an opioid overdose, and training for staff, students, and families around what we're implementing and what we're doing, and how they might be able to support this work. And if Enfield Public Schools is implementing a prevention and support plan for students. So how are we preventing opioid use in the first place, and then how do we support a student if something should happen, and how are we addressing their needs?
So we do have other policies that are related to that. This was specific to something that the nurse's office brought to us. And Mr. Longy, if you could just refresh our memories as the board, what Nurse Jess's intention was with this specific policy.
Right. Yeah. So Nurse Jess was looking for a policy support from the board to be able to administer Narcan. Is the real crux of this policy here. With that, there's a lot of training, like you said, and so Nurse Jess trains all of her nurses. Then at the beginning of every school year, all staff are trained. We're waiting for the policy to be approved before all that happens. So she's not going to jump the gun. So she has purchased the devices, but she's waiting for approval. I know this could potentially be, a sensitive subject, but it seems like there's support for this to happen. I personally agree. It's a very good thing that our staff is trained in. I talked to Nurse Jess about some of your questions. She does say that for families, she doesn't have anything now, but she thought that was a good idea to think about that. Staff and students is a whole other category. She is able to work with them. And even some of our health curriculum at the high school will address controlled substance, illegal substances, and the signs thereafter, especially overdose. So a lot of that is covered. It's kind of a big answer to a really good question.
That was a great answer. My next one, and I am concerned about the language that is in there, so I'm not sure if it has to be, if I can move to have it tabled. 6148, which is on FAFSA completion. I'm wondering what we're currently doing to encourage FAFSA completion and how this policy differs. Yep.
I'll take this one because can I ask you all to be patient until Friday before you ask any questions about this?
Sure. So then can we table this one?
I would recommend tabling that one until Friday. I'm not at liberty to tell you why, but you'll find out on Friday.
Perfect.
I know why, yeah.
Awesome. Then we'll table that one. My other question, well, my real concern was there around it being tied to graduation requirements. So I would hate to see a barrier to graduation. We also know there are many reasons why families don't complete the FAFSA.
It is not. It's definitely not tied to graduation. I checked on that.
Perfect. Thank you. So this is where, again, policy is like legal language, and Amanda Pickett sometimes doesn't understand the nuances of may versus shall or all of that great language that shows up in policies. And then my next one was, again, questions around what Janet raised around 411.3, which is our recruitment of people of color for our district. So I want to say thank you. I'm excited to see this policy. It is definitely needed. I also want to share that this is tied to legislation. So the action plan that the district has to create, there is guidance on the State Department of Ed talent website. They have actually a toolkit and a guidebook. I encourage folks to check it out. It is public. You can just CSDE, talent. You can put teacher recruitment guidebook or policy book. I can email it to you if you want it. But they're providing a lot of guidance on how to create those plans and what should go into them. And actually, they're encouraging a team-based approach to creating that plan, that it's not done in isolation. So I'd be interested to know how we will be creating that plan. But there was a lot of stuff in that policy about it being potentially connected to an alliance plan. So since we are an alliance district, what does that mean for us? There was also a piece around a residency program. Is that something that Enfield is considering? And I'm wondering how we're evaluating our current efforts in recruitment and ensuring that we're selecting strategies that will welcome and sustain staff of color. It's great to do recruitment efforts, but we got to make this a welcoming and inclusive place first. So thinking about what does that look like in a continuum.
That was a lot.
I know. I
Wow.
didn't quite know where you were going to start.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just a little bit. As Mr. Drezek said, our structure has changed. So some of this structure we're going to hear about in terms of how central office is structured. That'll be looking at this exact what you just talked about: residency programs, recruiting. How we're recruiting. How are we evaluating our recruiting? Is this an environment that's conducive for the candidates we're looking for? So that is in the works, and I think this year, Amanda, you will hear more about that. So thanks for bringing up all of those points. I don't know if I answered anything, but just know that's all on
You're
our
fine.
radar.
Honestly, it's
Okay.
not about the policy. I support the policies. It's those like implementation things that come out of the
Right.
language out of the policy,
Correct.
And just ensuring that we're thinking about all of those aspects.
Any discussion? Any other discussion?
Yeah, I know. Any other discussion? Okay.
So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to approve the first reading of the 8 policies, subtracting 2, 5141.71 for further discussion on Tuesday of next week, as well as 6148, the FAFSA program. So we can work on that with Mr. Hamray and Mrs. Cushman. So I would table those two, and my motion is to move forward with a first reading on 4112, 5141.72, 5141.213, 4111.3, 4141, and 5131.6. And again, if anybody in the public or watching tonight wants to review those are always posted on our website as well. And thank you, Kathy, for doing that.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hambury, seconded by Ms. Pickett. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ryder,
4.
Mr. Ungary, Dr. Kalnin,
4.
Mrs. Cushman,
4.
Mr. Hamray,
4.
Mrs. Acree,
4.
Mr. LeBlanc,
4.
Mrs. Pickett,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion passes.
Item 12, board committee reports.
Wait, Dina, can I make a motion to add an agenda item to revise the mission tagline?
Under new business? Yeah.
Under new business.
Under new business, the statement that Mr. Dresek read us in the thing?
Yes.
Okay, we need 2/3 vote to amend the agenda, to put that on there, correct?
Yep.
Do I have a motion to add Mr. Dresek's, or I should say the district's, the district's statement from the superintendent's report?
So moved.
Second.
First by Ms. Pickett, second by Mr. Hamry. Do we need to do discussion?
Yes.
Discussion, please.
I don't want this to go in my signature block. It's going to be huge, but no, if there's a, I joke. No, I appreciate the effort. This is, as I said earlier, it's a good time to have a review and revision. So no, I do like it. I look forward to the logo being something that would fit on a sweatshirt. Thank you.
This is basically a discussion of why we'd want to put it on the agenda. Not, you can tell us that again when you're done.
Fair enough.
What is it? Could you please give us more information?
It's the tag, it's the one that's on the screen that Mr. Dresek shared with all of us.
Which is a district motto.
So it's every child is unique, and diversity of our students is what makes the Enfield Public Schools exceptional. To thrive and excel, all are welcomed, accepted, respected, and supported.
Technically, it's our equity statement. We're still keeping the motto. I'm not getting rid of that.
So it's the district's equity statement. It is
Correct,
not
yes.
the board's equity statement. Okay.
Chair, is this just to add
The agenda item.
Add it as an agenda item.
as an agenda item for the next meeting?
No, for tonight, and then,
And then we'll vote on it tonight?
yes.
Yeah, a 2/3 vote would get it onto the agenda to vote.
Can we have it added to the next meeting?
Well, we have a motion, so we have to vote now to see.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Ryder?
4.
Mr. Ongire?
Four.
Dr. Kalnin?
4.
Mrs. Cushman?
4.
Mr. Hamry?
4.
Mrs. Acree?
4.
Mr. LeBlanc? Mrs. Pickett?
4.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so then the next motion would be motion to accept the district's equity statement.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Ms. Pickett, seconded by Mr. Ryder. Now discussion.
Again, thank you. I like it.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Ryder?
4.
Mr. Ongire?
Four.
Dr. Kalnin?
4.
Mrs. Cushman?
4.
Mr. Hamry?
4.
Mrs. Acree?
4.
Mr. LeBlanc? 4. Mrs. Pickett?
4.
Madam Chair?
4.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 12, Board Committee Reports, Curriculum Committee.
We are meeting this Thursday, and our agenda is on the Black and Latino course.
Thank you. Finance Committee?
The Finance and Budget Committee met on September 12th, and we discussed the financial statements for the Enfield Public School Nutrition Services, covering the period of time from April through June of this year. The profit as of June 30th, 2022 was $792,701.56, and the net worth was $1,311,344.01. With respect to our tag investment, the beginning value was $3,510,482.58. As of the end of August, the account lost $509,727.62, and its value dropped to $2,907,504.84. We will be meeting with representatives from the Wolf Associates, not at our next meeting, but the meeting after that.
Thank you. Policy Committee?
Policy Committee next meets on Tuesday, the 20th, and I would like to ask Kathy if she could add 2 items to the agenda. It has already been posted, but I would like to add tonight's tabled policy numbers to our discussion, so if you could just repost that publicly, thank you.
Leadership Committee, we were planning on meeting this evening, and I had a personal emergency, so we were unable to meet. We will reschedule that. Joint Facilities,
Joint Facilities was to meet, I believe it was last Thursday, and it was pushed 2 weeks. And I believe we are meeting again a week from Thursday, so the 13, 14, 22nd.
JFK Building Committee,
I don't have the next date of the JFK Building Committee, but I do want to thank them again for opening on time. I understand that there's just a few items being done internally. All major construction has ended, and I want to thank them all for all their hard work, and I would love to get them on the agenda to come visit with us in the next few months. And I'd also like to go there in person, too. If
Agreed.
you could arrange something for us with Dr. Barrios, that'd be great.
that'd be great, yeah. The Joint Security Committee,
We were to meet last Wednesday. That was postponed. There is a report coming any day now, and once we have that report done, we're going to reconvene. And we don't have a date. It's just a postponed TBD.
the Enfield Mental Health Wellness Work Group, Dr. Jerry.
On August 29th, the Town Council allocated $25,000 of its ARPA funds to hire a planning consultant for a mental health coalition. The consultant will work with a leadership team in designing a coalition of stakeholders to address the mental health needs of the Enfield community. Among others, the leadership team will consist of 3 co-chairpersons, State Representative Tom Arnone, a Town of Enfield representative, and a representative from the Board of Education. Of course, the Board of Education Mental Health Committee will separately pursue its own evaluation of and plan of management for those urgent issues requiring our immediate attention.
I appreciate your work on that, Dr. Jerry. Thank you. The Enfield Cultural Arts Commission,
ECAC met earlier this evening. Wasn't able to attend for being here on time and happy. But they're still in a holding pattern while they add new members to obtain a quorum of commission members so business can actually get back underway.
thank you. Item 13, approval of minutes, the regular Board of Ed meeting minutes, August 23rd, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Motion by Ms. Pickett,
Second.
second by Mr. Ryder. Any discussion? All in favor? Approval of accounts and payroll, Dr. Jerry?
Yeah, and this one's going to be kind of involved because it covers certifications from June through August. So bear with me.
I'm always impressed by the reading of the numbers. I'm like,
Okay. First, the Finance Committee met on September 12th, 2022 to review line item transfer requests for fiscal year 2022. I move that the Enfield Board of Education approve the following line item transfers from number 100 salaries, 400 repairs and maintenance, $32,809.00. 500 support services, $1,320,550. 600 tech supplies materials, $495,626. Equipment, $165,270. Other use of funds, $1,055,387. The total is $3,069,642. 2, benefits, $2,638,286, and professional services, $431,356, for a total of $3,069,642. That's my motion.
Do you have a
That one.
second?
I will second that.
Second by Mr. Ryder. Motion by Dr. Kelnens. All in favor? Not usually. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Certification of expenditures. The Finance Committee met on September 12th, 2022 to review financial statements for the month of June, year to date, and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded that there is nothing significant to report to the board. The motion, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of June, total expenditures amount to $7,189,113.46, broken down between payroll totaling $5,125,159.01 and other accounts totaling $2,063,954.45. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Pickett. All in.
Okay, certification of grants and Head Start expenditures. The Finance Committee met on September 12th, 2022 to review financial statements for grants during the month of June year to date and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded that there is nothing significant to report to the board. The motion, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of June, the total grant and Head Start expenditures amount to $4,821,109.46, broken down between payroll totaling $1,333,111.15 and other accounts totaling $3,487,998.31. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the book of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
Second by Mr. Hamre. Show of hands.
Certification of expenditures. The Finance Committee met on September 12th, 2022 to review financial statements for the month of July year to date and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded that there is nothing significant to report to the board. The motion, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of July, total expenditures amounted to $1,379,234.93, broken down between payroll totaling $623,837.05 and other accounts totaling $755,397.88. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Hamre. Show of hands.
Certification of... Okay, I'm sorry. Certification of grants and Head Start expenditures. The Finance Committee met on September 12th, 2022 to review financial statements for grants during the month of July year to date and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded that there is nothing significant to report to the board. Motion. I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of July, the total grant and Head Start expenditures amounted to $323,771.68, broken down between payroll totaling $141,199.79 and other accounts totaling $182,571.89. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of account. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Ryder. Oh, second by Mr. Ungeyer. Show of hands.
Certification of expenditures. The Finance Committee met on September 12th, 2022 to review financial statements for the month of August year-to-date and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded that there is nothing significant to report to the board. The motion. I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of August, total expenditures amount to $2,933,928.72, broken down between payroll totaling $787,049.10 and other accounts totaling $2,146,879.62. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Do I have a motion? Or a second, I should say. Second by Ms. Pickett. All in favor?
And lastly, certification of grants and Head Start expenditures. The Finance Committee met on September 12th, 2022 to review financial statements for grants during the month of August year-to-date and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded that there is nothing significant to report to the board. Motion. I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the months of August, the total grant and Head Start expenditures amount to $187,367.53, broken down between payroll totaling $121,692.55 and other accounts totaling $65,674.98. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of account. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Seconded by Ms. Pickett. All in favor? Item 15, correspondence and communication. Mr. LeBlanc. Mr. Drezek, do we have a need for, oh, go ahead.
Were you going to address the kite invitation for Family Day? The kite invitation for Family Day?
Oh, sorry, I came late. I thought we all got that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, we didn't.
I came and it was on. I thought everybody got it. All right, so excuse me. So Family Day on the Green, Sunday, September 18th, this upcoming Sunday, 11:30 to 4. They have an entire entertainment schedule, free contest, and a bunch of free activities, games, and events. The contest include sidewalk chalk art, a DJ dance-off, a soccer shootout, and a 1K kids fun run. So again, that is September 18th, this upcoming Sunday, 11:30 to 4 on the town green, correct? Okay, perfect.
Mr. Drezek, do we have a need for executive session?
We do. Matters related to personnel.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hamry, seconded by Ms. Pickett. All in favor? Okay. Yeah, we will not be returning and we're remaining in this room. Thank you.